Good evening, and welcome to the Board of Selectmen's meeting for January 6, 2016. The board would like to thank our friends at WACA-TV for broadcasting this meeting live on their cable channel, and we'd like to thank those who are at home in their nice warm homes viewing this meeting as well. At this time, I would like to ask anyone that's present this evening who is personally taping this session to make that known for us. That is something that we always usually do. Seeing that there isn't any, that'd be great. So without any further delay, I would like all of us to stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Well, board, welcome back. It's been some time since we've had our last meeting. It was December 16th, so we had a little hiatus. Hope everybody's well rested and ready to roll, because the work that's ahead of us is monumental at best. And I know that this board and our new interim town manager will get through it. At this time, I'd like to ask if there's anybody in the audience that would like to be part of citizens' participation to please come to the podium. Introduce yourself, name, address, and please comment.
Okay. Good evening. Happy New Year.
Same to you.
Mark Tassoni, 49 Hawthorne Road, anywhere, Ashland, Mass. Mr. Herbert, congratulations, we are now partners.
Thank you, Mark.
We know what we're talking about, the economic source.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
The planning board heard me, I spoke, and we're together waiting for a meeting to have with you and the our new economic director. Board, welcome back. It's about time you got something live on TV to watch and not repeat it over and over again. To the WACA, please get a new programming on this soon. And me, I will be very positive, happy, and outcoming with everything else that comes with everything for this town. I am so happy to announce that my Economic Boost Committee one-man group is officially on its way. The kick has got my own kicking going, and I got everything where I got the director with form design and zone codings, and next Thursday, the 14th, downtown Summit.
Correct.
The new economic director we announced, Beth Reynolds. And there's one thing from the last meeting I want to say, because that person was not here. Ms. Yolanda Greaves, great letter that Shevin read about Tony Schiavi that night.
Thank you.
Well touched and from the heart, and worth every word that you did put down. With that, let's have a good year.
Thank you, Mark. Good evening.
Michelle Hudak, 15 Clark Street. And slightly out of breath, so I'll try to rein it in.
Get your breath
bit.
first. That's more important.
It's a bit of a run to get here today. I understand that tonight you guys will briefly be discussing the recommendations of the Override Study Committee. First, I talked to Betsy, and the two of us just wanted to say thank you so much for appointing the committee in the first place. I know that this group and the Finance Committee and the School Committee and all of town leadership has been working really hard, you know, year in, year out, to find ways to find solutions to some of our budget issues and to find new revenue streams and to really get creative about it. And the last few years have been really difficult. So we appreciate that you took the opportunity to look this in the eye and put the Override Study Committee together in the first place. I think that was important, and it was a good thing for our town. I also wanted to say that we've been following the work of the Override Study Committee, and you know, we understand the amount of thoughtfulness that went into their final recommendation. I don't have to stand here and remind Steve and Rob, who are on that committee, how much work went into it. I mean, it's been more than 6 months, more than half a year that group has been working on this, between subcommittees and really looking at the data, trying to get input from the community and being incredibly thoughtful and vetting, what went into their final recommendations. So, we appreciate that very, very much. And as a taxpayer, I appreciate it. I don't want to pay more taxes unless there's a really good reason. So it makes me feel optimistic that this group has really put the time and the effort into it. We feel that there has been ample opportunity for the discussion for folks who are interested in it to get detailed and very wide-ranging information on the items in the request and why they were included in the manner that they are. There's been a lot of thoughtful consideration as to how to provide the information in such a way as to offer the community more than one choice, while at the same time ensuring that the choices that are available can be sustainable in a long term, so that's appreciated. At this time, I really want to just, reaffirm my confidence, and I know that Betsy shares this with me, that the full board, once you've had a chance to really take a thoughtful look at what's been done, will support the recommendations of the Override Study Committee, and preferably unanimously. We're stronger when we stand together. So I'm hoping that, when you've had a chance to really look at what's gone into this and what is there, it'll be clear, as it's clear to me, why things are as they are, and that this really is the right step forward. And the only, comment also in addition to that is just sort of a reminder of the importance to have public forums on this, when and if the recommendations move forward, so that the whole town can get educated. And that said, I was hoping to have Betsy here, but she's running a little late. We just, we're so confident in what the Override Study Committee did and what this board is going to do. Just wanted to let you know that we filed today as a ballot initiative committee to support the anticipated override. We're that confident that it's the right thing to do, and that this group will see that as well. So, thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thanks, Michelle.
I'd also like to add the extra work that was done by Mike Hebert, getting all the financials and in line so that everybody had the opportunity to, you forgot his name, so I just wanted to add it. Not a problem. I just want to give credit where credit's due. We are about 5 minutes early for our hearing, which is coming up momentarily. Let's go to old and new business for volunteer breakfast, setting a date, if you would, please.
Sure. So every year, the Board of Selectmen try to host a volunteer breakfast for all of our valuable volunteers and people in the community. This year, we're hoping to have it on February 27th at the Community Center. Time to be determined, but as it's a breakfast, you bet it's going to be in the morning. So all I'm asking today is for the board to take a date, or set the date, I should say. And in terms of funding, we have a couple of events coming up, retirement-related events, and we're going to see how the status of the account is after those events to see whether or not we're going to come back and ask for any funding from the Selectmen's gift account. So.
Okay, so the date, go ahead, Nealon, I'm sorry.
The date's fine. Can we just clarify who we actually invite? Because I've gotten, over the years, it's been like, well, one group has been invited. I mean, is it all volunteers in Ashland? Is it, and I know it's been different things. Oh, I apologize if I'm not speaking into the microphone either.
You guys drive this. It's your volunteer breakfast. You can invite anybody you want. When it initially started, when I was involved in it, it was boards and committees that kind of worked civic. It wasn't necessarily groups outside. I don't want to get into naming some groups,
No, that's fine.
But there are some groups that felt like they do things for the community, but they're not necessarily groups that are appointed by the board or elected. But that's up to you if you want to extend it to them. Just give me a list of who you want included, and we'll send out invitations to them.
Okay, good.
When's
Thank you.
school, I'm sorry, when's school vacation?
February 15th to the 19th.
Yeah.
So it's the weekend after.
After,
So we still have a couple
We have a few
minutes.
minutes, yep.
Let's just discuss, who
we would like to invite, if it's folks beyond just our appointed boards and committees. You know, I think there's a lot of volunteerism that goes on with various nonprofits in town, and it's all, as I say, it's for the benefit of the town, and it's a, you know, I'll use Ashland Day as an example. I mean, I think that's a
And
entity
farmers
that...
market.
Well,
that's
that's
further
it,
back,
but there's a
still.
lot of those nonprofits that do things on behalf of the town, I think should be invited and included.
You have the garden club as well.
Right. I was just gonna think about
Absolutely,
the guy-
yeah.
Absolutely, the guy,
Yeah.
right.
So if you guys wanna think about it
Mhm.
and come up with a list, and if you have any particular, I mean, a lot of the emails I have, but not all of them, if there's a particular person you know that's the head of Friends of the Library or some organization that you want to invite that maybe hasn't been invited, just let me know, and,
So what about if we all run it by Joe,
Yeah,
and
we'll
then Joe
shoot
can
it to
forward?
Joe,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah,
perfect.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Lean towards me, right, just like any other questions you may have for
Right. That way Sue's not getting the same stuff from different people.
Right.
It goes through one. Okay.
Right, just goes to one. I'll be the central distribution location.
What was the date that you selected?
February 27th.
I guess that works for everybody, right?
Does it
Yeah.
work for you guys?
27.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'd like to see the
Yeah.
board president if they can. And do we have a
Yes,
specific time
Saturday
frame
morning.
set for that yet, or we're still
Usually
thinking
what I
about?
do is I work really hard. I bring up the invitation from the prior year and I change the date.
Okay,
It's typically like
Alright.
I wanna
8:30 or
say
9,
it's like
right?
8:30.
8 to 11 or
Yeah.
9 to 11
Okay.
or something like
Yeah.
that.
All right.
But
And-
I'll send it out. You guys can decide
Yeah.
if that works.
And
Now we
one
need to
other
reserve the
comment,
room.
let's,
the community center.
yeah, one other comment, let's make sure that we get it to absolutely everybody that we put on the list, because we've had commentary in the past where folks haven't, and sometimes it's the chair that hasn't passed it on to their committee, but,
Right.
you know, let's see if we can
Well, and I
really get
think-
it out.
I think we've tried to do a better job at compiling emails too, with having the chair distribution list, and I think a lot of that has kind of trickled down. You guys have used it
Yeah,
to
we're
do
doing
the
it.
farmer's market
Right.
thing, and so hopefully we've gotten better at that, but certainly we can post it up on Facebook and our website and things like that to try to reach out to the people that maybe are not getting it through their chair.
Good,
Great.
good, thank you.
Thank
We
you.
have to have real coffee, not just decaf.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, especially that time
I
of the
remember
morning
the
for some of us.
last year, there were a number of people who it was only decaf, so just,
Yeah, never mind.
yeah.
I will
I know
refrain
that
from
seems
the
like an odd
comment that
thing,
was
but
gonna be
it
made.
was a
Sure, what?
comment.
No,
Anyway,
I'm not gonna go there.
no.
All right, seeing that we have reached our 7:15 time slot, I am going to publicly open the meeting that's been set forth and advertised, and I will read the announcement, the legal notice. Notice is hereby given that the Board of Selectmen will conduct a hearing regarding a change to an entertainment license. Sing Sing Inc. Does business as Hantu at 380 Union Street, Ashland, Mass. A public hearing will be held on the matter at the Ashland Town Hall, 101 Main Street, Ashland, Mass. On Wednesday, January 6, 2016, at 7:15 p.m. Parties wishing to be heard on this matter should appear at the time and place indicated above. Interested parties who are unable to attend the hearing may submit written comments to the Selectman's Office, 101 Main Street, Ashland, Mass. 01721. Before I ask if there's anybody in the room that's in favor of this hearing and this request to come forward, Sue, did we receive any notification via email or mail with respect to pro or con on this hearing?
The only thing that we received was the materials that were
Okay.
included in your packet.
Okay, no other additional ones?
Nothing in
Okay.
addition to that.
All right, great. Having heard that, I would ask at this time that anybody is in favor of this request to change the entertainment license to Sing Sing Inc., who does business as Hantus. If anybody's in the audience, if you'd like to come forward and explain your reasons why you think this is a good thing to do, please come forward, state your name and address, please.
Hey, how are you, everybody?
Thank you.
Yeah, my name's Ray. I'm from Hantos. Yeah. reason why I want to apply for the entertainment license because it will be helps us to build up the business. That's why I'm trying to, and then so I did something. I think I did make some mistake about the acoustic and full entertainment license. So I apologize for that. That's why I'm here for today to get it correct. Yeah, straight up.
Okay. Anybody else in the audience who would like to state why they're in favor of this this change in the entertainment license? Please come forward.
Good evening. My name's Tim Rafferty. I'm here as agent for the landlord for the property. And we're also in favor of this change in use, entertainment.
Okay.
Can I ask one question? Sure. I just, our backup material says, I've only got one sheet that states, written by Raymond, to whom it may concern, we have acquired additional space to our existing restaurant and would like to extend our entertainment license to live bands. Is that?
Yeah.
That's your request?
Yes.
Okay. Because right now you have an entertainment license for live bands, but of a.
Honestly, I really do not understand between the acoustic and the live band. Yeah, that's why. So I hear some. Yeah, that's why I try to straight out.
Okay.
Could I just ask Ray a question?
Sure.
So, I guess I don't, you said you made a mistake. What are you referring to, Ray? Like what?
You
might want to speak into the
Speak into the
microphone.
mic so that way the folks at home
the
can
reason
hear.
why, as soon as I figured out, because the reason why I say that I did make a mistake because I don't know what's between acoustic and the band. Was what yeah, that's why. So maybe it's language barrier or something. I doubt I have a entertainment license and then can do that. But
Oh, I
yeah.
see. So when you received the acoustic license some time ago, you thought it was
Yeah.
just all
just entertainment license
in general, and so
Yeah.
that's why you weren't
yeah.
controlling the level, the volume, is that?
Yeah, that's why as soon as I know I figure out something not right, that's why I'm here for try to fix that up. Yeah.
Ray, if I can, I just want to read a section of the minutes from our September 3rd meeting, which is when the request was made. Mr. Monaco, who was the selectman at the time, made a motion to grant the entertainment license to Hontos at 380 Union Street for low-key musical entertainment, mainly consisting of acoustic guitar from 9 p.m. to 12 p.m. on Sunday through Saturday. This motion was seconded by Steve Mitchell with a unanimous vote 4-0 at the time, because there were only 4 members on the board at that time. It clearly stated that that discussion was made and had, and at that time it was understood by all that that's what the license was going to be. So that's why I'm a little confused as to why you didn't understand what was being passed or what was being said. I don't knock any business, because we welcome and we want to be business friendly. But this is not my time to make the comment of which I want to make, because we have other things that we need to address first. We'll ask for public comment, and then this board will make comments to you as well, okay? So I'm going to hold off on the comments that I need to make, and I ask the board to do the same until it gets to our time.
Mr. Chair, can I ask just a clarification? You asked about any other information. We did get an email today from Tom Almeida, right? Did the rest of you get that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so that's the, did
Yeah,
everybody see
that was in
Okay.
here, right?
Yeah,
I just
got
wanted to
that
make
too.
sure if there was any additional information that
Okay.
we had
So
received. I
that's-
knew about
is that
Tom's
in the
letter.
packet? I didn't see that. Okay.
Yeah,
It's in here.
yeah,
In
it
that
should be
one,
in your
okay.
original
Gotcha.
packet, second packet.
Excuse me, sorry.
No, I just had a comment about low key. Does that mean they could only play in low keys or
A flat?
A flat, B sharp, yeah. I'm not a musician, so I really couldn't tell you. But I would say low key would be low decibel.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Right, the idea was that acoustic music would not be that loud and it would be
Right.
better for the neighborhood.
That coming from a musician, just want to let you all know his background. And a damn good one at that. With that, if there are any people that are at the hearing this evening that would like to speak against this or opposed to changing the current license, if you're here and you would like to make comment, this is your time to come forward. Please state your name and tell us the reasons why you would not like to see this board make the change that's being requested. Good evening.
Hi, I'm Janet Gamache, 10 Metropolitan Ave in Ashland, and I'm the one who submitted the letter via email. And I know I also talked about other things regarding Hanto as our neighbor, which we don't feel that they've been a neighbor that's been respectful of the houses that are so close by. My house is directly across from the back entrance, probably 25 yards building to building, which is pretty close. There have been 4 occasions when I've called Hanto since they were granted their music license, asking them to turn down the music because it's keeping me up at night. The last time I called, they didn't answer the phone. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, it might be on caller ID because the one time I called, he answered, "Hello, Janet." So Ray knows that I've called before. It shouldn't take more than one phone call to request to keep the music down. I've since spoke to a neighbor next door who couldn't be here tonight. She said Sue Cedrone next door has walked over there twice asking to turn the music down. Spoken to 4 other neighbors, asking them, can you hear the music at night or is it just me? Yes, they can hear the music at night. So there's approximately 6 houses that have a problem with the noise. It's not just me. I'm just the most vocal in the group that I wanted to send the letter, make sure everybody on the board knew ahead of time that this is a problem. And if this is at the current level and they want more entertainment, that's just not being a good neighbor to us. We've been there first. We know it's mixed zoning. We respect that they have a business. It's a restaurant. It's not a nightclub. And they do a good business. They don't need music to survive, And again, just being so close, not respecting 6 requests to turn the music down as it stands now, we see this as getting out of control. They just don't need to have music to have a good restaurant. They have a wonderful reputation in town for good food. There's always cars packed in the parking lot. They do well. I just don't see the music as the tipping point of a successful restaurant. I know again, maybe went off topic with my other 2 things in the letter, but just to reflect the fact that they're not being respectful to the neighbors, the trash in the back, the trucks entering and exiting, which I talked about at the last meeting. Ray said he would have all his vendors not exit onto Metropolitan or enter from Metropolitan. It is happening. My car almost gets hit when I park in the front of my house. 18-wheelers, Pepsi trucks, beer trucks coming in and out. We really just request that they respect the neighborhood, and, the noise level right now is not respecting the neighborhood. So, thank you.
With respect to that issue that you have, we have a representative for the owner of the property, and maybe after this hearing is over, we can take a few minutes to discuss that, and maybe we can change the layout of the entranceway and make that maybe an emergency entrance, or discuss about making that and just having all delivery trucks come through the main driveway to get to the locations where they need to go, to refrain from coming off Metropolitan, which is somewhat of a narrow roadway to begin with. So we can discuss about that.
We have spoken, by the way.
Okay.
Nothing's happened,
Well,
but yeah. Thank
Maybe
you.
if he hears it from somebody different, it may
Okay.
act
Thank you.
differently. You're welcome.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else that would like to speak in opposition to this request?
Yeah, Chuck DeBritz, 368 Union Street. I live right on the corner of Metropolitan Ave and 135, right directly in back of the plaza. And I really don't know why, Ray, you thought that your permit, because we talked about it at the last meeting, was for acoustical music, and obviously, for some reason, either you didn't know or didn't care enough to abide by that permit that you had, and you decided to take it one step up and above. If you grant him another permit, was to keep him from taking that another step up and above. I don't know, we live right there, we hear the music. I don't want to be the guy calling up the police at night making noise complaints, but I'm not sure what else to do. Police got better things to do than have to respond to that. We've been there a long time. And again, just echoing Jan, he opened a restaurant, and it's a good restaurant. Everybody I talked to that's been there says it's great, the food is good, and everything else is good. He didn't open a nightclub. This is not something that we would be happy with right across the street from our house. Sorry, he's a good guy, but I just, that's the way we feel. We live there, and, our family's there, and it is, you are right next to a residential area, so there's got to be some kind of concern,
Yeah.
Okay, gentlemen, ladies.
Great, Yolanda.
So, my question is, when you've complained about the noise level, has it been because it's been other than acoustic music, or has it? Okay, so had it just stayed acoustic music,
We would have been fine.
you would have been fine.
That's
Okay,
what we were told last time.
right. Okay, thank you.
Good evening, sir.
My name's Todd Ouellette. I live on 17 Metropolitan Ave, which is one house away from the plaza. Basically, I haven't complained yet. I can't really hear that much, but recently, if I turn my TV all the way down at night, boom, boom, you hear that bass. And so obviously that's not indicative of acoustical music. I think acoustic would be fine, coffee house music, but when you start introducing the bass, that's when the whole neighborhood wakes up. And I got a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old at home. They go to bed at 7:30, 8:30. So I'm just hoping that if there is any increased license, for them to make more volume, more music, that it could potentially interrupt the kids' sleep and potentially my wife and I. So again, I haven't had a problem up to now, but I could see if I lived closer where I probably maybe would already have a problem, because I can hear the faint bass down in my house. I'm about, say, 300 feet from the building. So let's say about 150 feet from the building. But so I would definitely not vote in favor of it. The houses are pretty close to the building, so.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Is there anybody else who would like to speak in opposition of this?
Yes, Mark Sony. I'm just gonna, I'm gonna be right straight down the middle here. What can be done to insulate noise from inside to outside? Have you put up any sort of insulations to cut down the noise so that they can hear it? Or has the speakers been volumes down at times?
Yeah, we did though. And since we are going to rebuild additional space, I did one of the additional wall trying to absorb the voice to the backside of the neighbors, and then I did try to do the best I can, and like Jenna just said it, because all the commercial truck, go through there, which is I did told whoever's come to me though, and I did tell them just towards that side. But which if she going to put it all over on me though, feels like not fair to me, because there's commercial plazas. There's commercial trucks everywhere, not only for me. That's why I want to point it out. And then also the noise. Well, I did send a lot of people to back out when we're playing, because if going to pass out of our kitchen access door, there's no reason they can hear it that though. Yeah, and then I'm trying to do my best but there's a plaza. If it's my part of, I will take care of that though. But just like the reason why I'm here for, I'm trying to build up the business, and yeah, and so if anything, something I can improve, definitely I would do though. So that's why I'm here, and
Mr. Chair?
yeah.
Hey, Cal.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I may have gotten lost in this exchange. But Mark, didn't you suggest the possibility of soundproofing the back of the building? And Ray, did you say that you've done that? Or
Yeah, I did one of additional space, the wall from the back side of the building. We did build one wall to disturb the voice, the noise.
one complete wall of the back of the building
Yeah.
is soundproofed?
Is that
That's
just
why
the
I
new
told
section?
them.
Is
New
that just in the new
sections, yeah,
section?
new sections.
But where your bands are in the old section, aren't they?
Yeah, they,
In the bar
yes,
section?
Yeah, the bar
Yeah.
section.
So
But,
soundproofing the new section where your music isn't going to help much.
Yeah, but I did send the people to back up when we're playing, and honestly, Jenna did call me a couple times, which is she's complained even though band's not playing, yeah, so too loud, which is I try to help her to yeah, I can't.
Did you correct me if I'm wrong? Did you just say she has complained when there are no bands playing?
No, just like middle of they are on a break. That's why I got a lighter, but I forgot to bring that. Yeah, I didn't make all the notes. Yeah, so and then I did send more than 20 people to back off the building. If you pass to the kitchens access door, there's no reason they can hear that though. And then except we only have like 4 times a month. Only 4 times, and it's so we are not every day though. Yeah.
So I have 2
Yeah,
other
but that
questions,
makes it
Jim.
once a week. Do you want to hold off until we do our discussions,
Sure,
and then
that's
we'll
fine.
ask?
Yep.
Because there may be other additional people who are opposed that would like to speak. So if you would like to come up to the podium, please do so, because this is your time to speak.
Hello, Board. Paul Gamache, 10 Metropolitan Ave. I would just like to reiterate some of the comments. One, first, is that I don't know Ray well at all, but he seems like a hard-working guy from what I can gather. And as Chuck and Janet have said, the business is doing very well from what we can see. But the music, when I'm lying in my bed on my pillow and I can hear the thumping, I'm not usually bothered by noise that much when I'm sleeping, but it's there. And currently, obviously the windows are all shut in the cold weather, and you can imagine with the windows open, maybe in the summertime, or it would even be worse. But it's just not. It's not the place for bands, so close to residential area, but it's just not the place for a band. We want to be a good neighbor and be supportive of the business, and we are up until that point, and also the cleanliness in the back. There are almost always right now, if you left here and drove by the back, there are piles of beer cases, empty beer cases in the back that are almost always visible in our front yard. Shoots right there with the vision. So we just would really like those things to shape up. And I do remember, I appreciate, Mr. Magnani, your comments about the notes from the last meeting, but I specifically recall there being some discussion specifically about how loud acoustic guitars are, and there were comments about that reflective in your notes tonight, so I appreciate that you brought those up. So, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Just regarding the insulating the walls. 8 months a year, the back door is open to the kitchen, so no matter how well it's insulated, the back door is open. You know, the kitchen staff in and out. You know, just a gathering point when they take a break, deliveries, you name it. So I don't think, no matter how much soundproofing you do, I don't think it's going to really make that much difference.
Ray, let me ask you a question with respect to
Yeah.
the comment that was just made.
Mhm.
Deliveries being made and the bands are playing. What time are your deliveries made? Can you change your deliveries so that they're done in the morning hours or mid-morning hours, so that way the doors can stay shut when the bands are playing, so they're not making deliveries at night? And I don't know if there are deliveries at night, but maybe if they are, maybe they can be changed in the daytime when the bands aren't being played.
I can call them, but it's very hard to control them, because I've been request them every single driver. I call them the managers, to let them know our neighbors' concerned. Don't use the road metropolitans, towards by this side. But the most of them's good, and then some of them they might just get having new people's new drivings. That's why they don't know. And first I saw that, I would tell them, so please don't go that way though. So I'm trying to work out with my neighbors, because they are my neighbors. Yeah.
Okay.
And but I will call them. I will call them again to make sure, if what we can do the best to them.
Excuse me one second.
Yeah.
Right, I was going to ask that, yeah. Absolutely. For deliveries? Absolutely. And that was going to be brought up. That's in my notes. Thank you, Ray.
Yeah, well,
Sure, you can come back up. And then I just saw a couple other people come walking in the room. We've already been given the opportunity for those that are in support to speak, but if you would like to, I'll give you folks the opportunity as well, because that's only fair and equitable. Okay?
So I might be able to bring a little bit more information here as far as insulating. I'm a commercial contractor. I'm also a drummer. I've had a lot of experience over the years with trying to keep the noise of my drums down for all my neighbors. So in order to really get rid of the bass, right, what you need to do is line the whole place with material that's either rubber or a egg crate type foam. It's got to be above the ceiling. It's got to be in the walls. And unless you get a full insulation of this special material, we're not talking insulation that you use for weather. This is a specialized material to absorb the bass. That's really the only fix that can be done for the bass, which I think is really all we can hear, is really the bass. So, I mean, I'd be happy to share some products and ideas with Honto that they could possibly use, but it is costly, very expensive material. So, but again, without a full installation of this, there's going to be transmission. So.
So I have one.
Good. Sure.
So-
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
So I support Ray as well as a business owner in town, and my wife and I patronize the restaurant. It's very good. But I guess my question for you is, your license currently is for acoustic music. It's very clear that's what we voted on. Now, if we maintain that, that's not viable for your business? Why is it, I guess I need you to convince me that going from acoustic music to live bands or full-blown bands is more important to your business and is more supportive of the restaurant.
Yes,
I'm not clear on that.
Well, the band definitely help us to business to build up our business, because we're trying to grab different the peoples, because to us it's kind of new in town. We're trying to grab more peoples, let them know we're here. That's what we're trying to do though. And
why is one type of music more why is one type of music
'Cause,
more important than another? I'm not clear on that.
Yeah, because the reason why we did try, we still have, we have acoustic, you know, we have acoustic every month, but it doesn't work out. And we did try like, almost a year though. Yeah, it doesn't work out. But some, aside to some of them, they're okay, but mostly, it doesn't work. That's why we're trying to apply for the full ban, but yeah.
Okay. I'm going to open it up to the audience again for those who are in favor of us passing this new entertainment license, because I saw some additional people come in. And again, it's only fair and equitable that they have the opportunity to speak. So if you'd like to come up, if you would, please.
Hello, board. I grew up in town off of Sheffield Drive.
Can you introduce yourself,
Just introduce
please?
yourself,
Oh,
please.
I'm
We know who
sorry.
you are,
That's
but the
okay.
other people don't.
All right, I'm Bobby Andrews. I grew up in town. I grew up on Sheffield Drive on the other side. I currently live at 408 Elliott Street, and I want to thank the board for finally cleaning up Cadillac Paint and Varnish. That was really bad. I don't know if anybody's actually familiar with that, but we really appreciate it in that neighborhood. So I just want to mention that Ray does do quite a bit for the community. He's got a program where every percentage of his sales goes back into the community. I'm sure Nadine over there could tell you a little bit more of that, because she's one of she's one of the people that run that. So, I mean, Ray only has a band 3 times a month, or 3 times a month. They run from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock, 3 hours a week. I mean, we are trying to bring money into the community, you know, get people to, you know, come to the restaurant. It is a great restaurant, good food. And, you know, there are many other restaurants in town that have entertainment, family restaurants, live bands. You know, so I just don't understand, you know, that are in local, like with like neighborhood, in local neighborhoods. So you know, I grew up with going to Green Acres, going to the Iron Horse, which is in the same plaza pretty much. And I know Mark, you've been there, right? You grew up in town, so I don't know why all of a sudden it's become. Yeah, but it's been there.
It's at the other end of the plaza.
Okay, folks, I don't want it to be turned into a war of words amongst the people that are speaking. So I'm just going to ask, if you have any comments or concerns, you address them to the board and not to each other that's at the podium, please. I'm going to ask for that professional decor, please. Thank you.
So, thank you, Joe. And I know Ray's, you know, trying to do the best he can.
Thank
you. You know, to try to be a good neighbor. You know, so, you know, I know, you know, I used to live next to the train tracks. I didn't like the train going by every hour or every couple hours, but unfortunately I had to live with that. It is a commercial zoned area as far as, isn't it? I mean.
It is commercial zone, yes.
Yes, so, I mean, three hours a week for that short time, you know, once we have acoustics there, like every other week or once a week, and then maybe a band there maybe 2 times a month or 3 times a month. You know, to bring the business into town and have a place for the, you know, people to go and get out and maybe blow off some steam and have a little fun. I don't think it's a bad thing. So.
I don't think anybody thinks it's a bad thing to blow off and have some fun.
Right.
I think what people are saying is, at what expense to the neighbors who have been there for years do they have to put up with that? You're right, Bobby, when you said there are other restaurants that have entertainment licenses in town. That doesn't mean that they utilize those entertainment licenses all the time. I'll refer to a business who was no longer in business, and that was Nello's. They had an entertainment license. It didn't work out for them. But that's not the reason why they shut down. They requested an entertainment license because they thought it would help their business. But there weren't any neighbors around there that was going to be disturbing. They were in the middle of a shopping plaza. The Fusion Restaurant, which is no longer in operation, had an entertainment license. They chose not to utilize it after they realized that it was more troublesome than creating answers to the problems. They were creating more problems to their problems. TJ's has an entertainment license. Again, you look at the location, whether they use it or not, that's up to them. That's their prerogative. Ray, you have a great establishment. There's no doubt about it. Your food is phenomenal. You don't have to look at me to understand that, but I will tell you that, a band does not make a restaurant. The product that you put in front of your patrons is what makes the restaurant. And I will throw out Carbone's Restaurant, who's been in operation for over 35 years. They didn't have an entertainment license. What they had was good food. And I just don't know why you have to have a band to have a good business. It helps. I won't say it doesn't help. It helps. It helps your bar because it brings another clientele into the business. Granted, I get that. I understand that. But you need to be careful of the type of clientele that comes into your place. And we've had this discussion with you off camera with respect to that. So, be careful what you wish for, because sometimes it may not be what you want when it comes to patrons coming into your business. And, we don't want history to repeat itself, especially in this town, because I'm not going to put up with it. So, having said that, anybody else that would like to come up and make a comment, please?
Deliberations.
Dave Dion, 7 Endicott Street.
Good evening.
Thank you. I don't think bring up other places like the Fusion, which is it's a completely different restaurant than what he has. I'm a member of the VFW. He does a lot for the veterans, a lot. For the town, he does a lot of things. But I'm sure he will do whatever it takes. If there's a problem, he'll try to work it out. He will work it out. But I'm here to support him 100%. But Ray's not a Fusion guy. He's not, nothing like that establishment. Sometimes I would leave the restaurant at 9 o'clock when I saw the clientele go in that place. The old Fusion. Nothing like that now. In fact, there's bouncers there, Bobby works there, and Teddy Nichols, who's a bouncer. He'll watch it. If you see something going wrong, he'll say it. But I don't think it's fair to bring up any of those establishments.
Well, it was brought up that there are other establishments that have entertainment licenses, so I used those entertainment licenses that were there, which I thought was on the table, and I'm going to use it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Don't tell me what I can and can't do.
I didn't say that, Joe. I did not say anything like that. But it's not, I fear to bring him in that regard. But I'm here to support Ray.
One more time.
Actually, I'd just like to ask Ray some questions at
Sure.
this point.
Well, this will be the last public
Okay.
question, then we'll go into deliberation. Go ahead, Mark.
Okay. Thank you for keeping your voice down, Joe. Thank you. Now, it's coming down to either compromise, tolerate, or try to work both ways on this and work it down the middle. The board's got the decision. The neighbors are living right there behind it, and he's got a business to run, and he wants his entertainment. And according to what Bobby did say, two or three times a month. For the 2 or 3 times a month, and it gets insulated, that should show a good faith that he's going to try and help the neighbors not being here all this. And for the board to bring up the other places, it's different situations in different areas of town with different people involved. He wants to do this. I'd be for the, he's trying for the stuff he's doing for the town. And if he can't control the band volume, then I'd be against it. But we got to tolerate and compromise for the neighbor's sake to say, yes, we hear you. For the board to put the teeth into the law, to say, we will give you that chance and trust you if you can do this, but compromise, let it work for at least one time, and then if it doesn't change, then you got to do what you got to do.
Thank you, Mark. With that,
May I speak?
sure, go ahead, I'm sorry. Mr. Gimbetti.
David Gimbetti, 364 Union Street. I really like the Hand Tool Restaurant. It's nice. I go there. I really like it. My question is whether it's a restaurant or is it trying to become a nightclub, which brings in the atmosphere of the band. As you mentioned, was it the other restaurant there that was established? There was a lot of motorcycles that came in, and those go by. I hear those constantly go by Route 135. I live on 135 right by the restaurant. That's a big question. You know, what kind of people will be drawn into a nightclub? Should bands come in, you're going to hear also motorcycles. Well, I think it's fine. I'd love to go there if it was a nightclub. But the people who are neighboring that business, they have to be considered. I was wondering if there could be a rider on that, that the noise isn't not diminished, but taken away, that it could be retracted for the reason of not, doing what he says he can do, is take away the noise level. I would like to see that. I'd like to see his business thrive. But, again, I'm questioning, is it a restaurant or a nightclub? Everybody likes a nightclub. Everybody likes a restaurant. That's just my comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Going to ask this time for comments from the board. So I know there's multiple questions and comments that you have towards, you would like to ask Ray. I'll start off with Yolanda, if you would, please.
So a lot of times when we get an entertainment license request, we are given specifics as to what nights you're going to have a specific kind of music. And I know when we did your acoustic license, it was only a certain number of days.
Yeah.
So as I'm considering this, and I haven't made a decision one way or the other, what nights are you looking to then have this different kind of live music?
Normally, right now, what we do is just for Saturday. Just for Saturday, for right now, yeah. But,
Okay. And do you now understand the difference between acoustic music and other live music?
yeah, now I know, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you still have some acoustic music coming?
Acoustic, yeah.
You do still have some acoustic musicians coming in? No electronics, no anything? They're just playing their guitar or?
They play guitar, acoustic, yeah. I still have, because I did book like last year, yeah. So
Okay.
I still have.
Okay. And this may not be for you, but actually I'll ask this later, never mind.
Okay.
That was it about
The
music.
current license runs Sunday through Saturday, is that correct?
Yeah.
From 9 to 12.
Okay.
Do you have any questions, Kyle, or comments?
I have a lot of questions and comments, but maybe I should go last.
No,
So good.
I have multiple things that I have typed up that I'm going to
maybe-
anchor this.
Do you want to go?
Joe, you mind if I give Ray a hand answering?
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead, Bob. I know you're here for that reason.
Thank you.
So just one quick question while you're there, Bob.
Yes,
Is the restaurant currently doing acoustic music?
yes, they are.
There, okay.
We had an acoustic just last week. We had an acoustic. Oh,
Okay.
just an acoustic.
All right. So, and again, to be clear here, we're not, Ray already has a license.
Right.
He has a license for music. We're not looking to retract his license.
Right.
At all. So
He's
whatever
looking-
we do here, you still have an entertainment license.
Right.
It may be exactly what it says, what we agreed to originally.
Yeah, he's just looking to open it up.
Well,
maybe
I know
a
what he's
couple
looking to
nights a
do.
week, That's
Right.
all, yeah.
Yeah, I'll ask, so, just to explore, so you currently have this acoustic license,
Yeah.
and I don't know if this goes back to some of the folks in the neighborhood. Have you addressed the current issues with the, are the current noise issues being addressed, or have they been addressed since these issues came up recently? And maybe it's some of the folks in the audience to answer. I'm saying, so you didn't understand that it was just supposed to be acoustic music. Was there some point that you understood that and were able to correct the situation, or do we still have a problem under the current license?
I did not quite answer.
He's asking, what do you have in the future for bands coming in? Is that correct?
No, I'm just saying, so we've talked about, right now, you didn't understand that you had an acoustic license, that you weren't supposed to have electronic music or heavy bass or, the kinds of things we've been discussing. I'm just wondering if that issue has been addressed in general. Like, when did you understand that, or when did you take action, and
Oh, yeah,
what's the current situation?
Yeah, just people told me, my attorney told me though. Yeah, so that's why I know something not right. That's why
I don't know if I could just ask the folks, has there been a recent change in the status of the noise, or?
I can tell you the dates that I called, and one of them was last week, and the week before, and Thanksgiving.
Okay.
When,
Yeah, okay.
Would say no.
All right.
Yeah, it was month.
a couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
All right, so one of the things, I think, one of the things we come out of this with is an understanding, if you still have just the acoustic license, I think there's some action that should be taken just with that. Let me just say that, I'm like, I think most of us are on the same page here. We want to encourage you as a business and understand your needs. And you've had that recent expansion, and you think this is a way to bring in more folks. But we also have to be cognizant of the needs of the neighbors and, their real issues with noise. And so it makes it a little, it's a difficult place for us all to be in, I think. And we want to encourage business, but we also need to recognize people's needs that live nearby and to be able to sleep. And so, I'm kind of looking for some sort of solution to this where we can kind of work things out somehow. So I'm just open to ideas here, and I'll just leave it at that. And maybe there's some ways we can test out different things and see how they work. I mean, I think one thing we have to address your current issues with the current license, and I hope you understand or have a method of dealing with that. And then, I'm open to considering other things, maybe limited times or maybe certain measures, just to see how it works out. So I'll just pass it on to somebody else, and maybe, I'm open to ideas and thoughts on this one. I can't.
Good, Steve.
So I'll just comment, this gentleman, the contractor drummer, we have had other establishments in town that have soundproofed their establishment because of complaints with neighbors. So it has been done. It is feasible. I have no idea what the cost is. But, I guess I want to approach this from the concept of being a good neighbor in general. You know, I think we all, respect you as a businessman and some of the activities that you've incorporated with the community. I think you've demonstrated, to be a generosity and so on. But I think, there's enough evidence here that you haven't necessarily been a good neighbor in other areas. And I think, looking at the trash in the back of the building, and I'll tell you, Ray, I've been by there yesterday, and I went by there today as well. And the trash is no different today than it was yesterday. In fact, it's even a little bit more. And, to me, it's almost bordering on a health issue. We've had situations where we've required restaurants to have dumpsters screened, and that is now the Papagino's on the opposite side of the plaza has a screened dumpster, and I appreciate what this resident said about her view from her house is directly to that back area. So that's an element of being a good neighbor. I think that needs to be addressed. I think the truck traffic is an issue. My opinion is we probably shouldn't even have truck traffic coming down Metropolitan Avenue at all. And I think we should look at that. So it's got to be required to come in through the main plaza. So I think, you have to appreciate that there's this, being a good neighbor is there's a lot to that.
Excuse me, I might be wrong on that truck traffic, but I went back there to drop something off one time, and I noticed there, I believe there's arrows.
Yeah, it's one way.
painted
I'm just
one way.
one
So,
way.
yeah, I mean, so I was like, I don't want to break the law. I don't, so I'm going to go the way the arrow tells me. So maybe they can do something with the arrows.
Understood, but we had a resident just explain about 18-wheelers coming down Metropolitan, making a turn, and that's narrow there. It's
No,
a
I
narrow,
agree.
it's a narrow street and it's a narrow turn. So,
Yeah,
you
but
know,
I just think they might be confused because of the arrows painted on the the parking lot.
Understood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Yeah. So one thing I'm trying to clear out, because I'm not trying to build up a nightclub. And then the second thing, I will definitely improve the backside of the buildings. Yeah. From tomorrow, I'll start to clean up. But
So do you have is there an identified dumpster, Ray, that you have, and where is it located?
There's right by the generators, right behind Dollar Tree. But right now, what we've been working out with my landlord to figure out how we're gonna do. That's why I bring my landlord to management to here. We've been working out, see how we're going to reorganize the backside of the buildings, and that's why we're trying to do though.
Okay.
And then, but this is a lot of work. A lot of processing.
Well,
so,
it's your responsibility. It's not that it's work. This is you signed up for this, so it's.
And then,
we shouldn't be having this conversation here, to be honest with you. I mean, that should be, and shame on the landlord as well for not, requiring that plaza be maintained in a certain way, But again, it's part of being, a good neighbor.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to leave it at that. I've got some other things later on to discuss as well, so
okay.
I'll pass it on.
Cal,
you're on.
Okay. I just, a truth and disclosure, and I can't let this one slide. The line that this gentleman said that the bass is when the whole neighborhood wakes up. I am a musician, and I've been dealing with this issue on both sides of the fence for over 40 years, so I have some experience in this. And the bass, if you're a musician, is when everybody wakes up as well. So I get that whole thing. I went over there twice. This is something, again, that I think when you are the musician, you don't realize quite how loud you are. And I spent a good part of my younger life thinking that everyone that was complaining was whining. And then I got older. And then I became a homeowner. And my perspective changed. It didn't mean that I stopped making noise. It just meant that my perspective changed. And I think that we can make this work. This is, you know, I'm kind of getting a kick out of this because this whole discussion is so what I call so Ashland. There's so many townies involved in this discussion. But it's not really adversarial. It's just finding, from my perspective, some kind of common ground. It's a good business. It has been a good business. It's contributed to the community, but you live in a community as well. And it just so happens that you don't have your business in the middle of the desert. You have your business across the street from these people that are trying to live their lives as well. And so, Mark, I think you brought up a very good point, and it's something that I know that has worked, and Mr. Contractor Drummer raised the issue earlier. I think that if this is something that you really want to work and is something that is that important to your business, that you may consider trying to soundproof and keeping the door closed to see if it works. I made 2 trips over there myself once we got this, and I agree with my colleagues, particularly with Mr. Mitchell, that I was kind of appalled at, and I drive by there 100 times, you know, a day, but I never stopped to really look at what the neighbors are looking at 24 hours a day. And the junk in the traffic coming out onto Metropolitan Avenue that I didn't really realize was there. It probably never should have been allowed in the first place, but it is allowed. The stuff that's behind the business probably has nothing to do with whether the music is loud or not. So they're separate issues, as far as I'm concerned. Loud music didn't make you throw junk into the alley behind the building. What I would suggest, and I would hope that you would consider, and perhaps that my colleagues would consider, is that the neighbors would consider, that if you agreed with some input from the neighbors to soundproof and give it a test run to see if it works, it's possible that it can work. I have my band practices in my basement, and I'm 100 yards from my neighbor, and he can tell me every song we've played in the basement. And I was just dumbfounded by it because I just thought that was impossible. I didn't think I was bothering anyone. But sound travels. This time of the year, it even travels further. Even though your windows are closed, it does travel further. So I'm sympathetic to these folks. I'm also sympathetic to people that want to have a good time, and people that want to express themselves, and people that want to make a living. So I guess my 3 concerns would be to see if you would be open to trying to soundproof the building and having some control over what level of volume leaves the building. My second concern, I guess, would go to Mr. Rafferty. Is that there be some consideration of some screening for the people that live on Metropolitan Avenue looking at the back of that building, because I wouldn't want to look at that looking out my front window. And I know that's all part of doing business, but sometimes these can be dealt with simple changes, either shrubbery or fence or something. And that maybe the town as a whole should consider the ingress and egress of the entire plaza, because I'm not sure that it's either fair nor safe for trucks of that size to be entering or exiting off of Metropolitan Avenue. But I think that it's something, I hope that it's something that we can work out, because I think that we can if everyone is willing to try. But it really turns on you, Ray, of making that effort, because you are in a precarious position. You're not located a distance from these people. You're located right in that neighborhood, and that creates these issues. And I'm sympathetic to that because, as I said, I've been on that side of the fence a lot, but I'm also sympathetic to these folks, and I'm hoping that we can find some kind of mitigating circumstances to work this out. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I guess I certainly support. I think you've shown that you're trying to work in the community. You give back to the community, but I go back a little bit to that initial entertainment license that we gave you back in September of 2014, when some of this discussion happened, when we said, you're in a neighborhood, we had said acoustic music because you are in a neighborhood, and I feel like you have not lived up to that initial entertainment license that we gave you. So I am a little hesitant to expand your entertainment license until we can see that you can actually live and abide by the discussion that happened with this first entertainment license. As has been said, some of the trash has been discussed, some of the driving, some of the truck traffic. Now, I understand the truck traffic is not your issue, right? It's not just you. There are many businesses in that plaza. It's not just your delivery trucks. It's the Papagenos. It's all of them. And as I hear the discussion about, well, we need to not have trucks go on Metropolitan Ave, I go into that plaza a lot because I do my banking at Middlesex Savings. There's no easy way for an 18-wheeler to go in and turn around. So I think it's a discussion with the landowner who owns that plaza to say, okay, we need to look at how your plaza and your parking is set up so that if we are going to require that no trucks can go on Metropolitan Ave, we have to look at what the parking and the driving and the entrance and egress from that plaza is. So I won't put that on you. That's not something that I think you're a business. It's the landlords, it's the owner of that property who needs to be spoken to about truck traffic going on Metropolitan Ave. That's my point. But what it looks like in back of your business, that is on you. And as we're talking about being a good community member, you are trying to do that, but something's failing along the way. So certainly soundproofing, I don't think that's something you can do very quickly and very easily. You may have to talk to the landlord about doing that, about making changes to his space because you're renting the space. So it might not be something you can do right away. So I'd like to see how I'd like to say, for the next 3 months, stay with just the acoustic. I think people will still come to Hantu because of the support that you give to the community. I mean, I know for myself, if I come there, it's not for the music. I want you to do well, but I think until we can look at some of these other things, until we can hear back that can there be soundproofing done, I think we need to you need to show us that you can live within the license you were originally given, which is some of the standards we've given to other businesses as we've discussed entertainment licenses.
Thank you, Yolanda.
Yep.
Steve, you all set, or you have additional questions?
No, I guess just a comment, and I guess some disclosure, because I was at Hantu this past Saturday, and my wife and I had gone for dinner, wound up meeting friends, and one thing leads to another, and we talking, and pretty soon the band set up. So we were there for Saturday night. It was, we enjoyed the band. It was a good crowd, nothing rowdy, but I don't live across the street. I was sitting, enjoying some dinner and listening to the band. So I think, I guess my point is I think we need to work towards some sort of balance here, and I think the neighbors make a very convincing case in terms of the impact on them, and I think we need to come to some, I guess I'm agreeing with my colleagues here in terms of how we approach this, or how you approach it, in terms of a potential solution.
Thank you. Thank you to the members of my board for their comments and their concerns. They put me down as chair because I'm the last one that needs to speak on this. Ray, there's no doubt that you have been a very strong supporter of the community and many of the groups and activities that you support. There's no denying that. There's also no denying the fact that when you issued your license, you had some sort of a working knowledge of what your entertainment license was originally. What really, and I have to be very honest with you, what really bothered me was going on a social media page and seeing advertisements and showing the live bands that were going on and knowing damn well they weren't acoustical guitars that were being played, knowing full well that your license said acoustical guitars, that frosted me a little bit. That didn't frost me a bit, it frosted me a lot.
Can I say
Okay?
something?
I'm almost done, then you can comment on it. But I said, maybe it's a mistake. Maybe it's a mistake. And I said, and if he wants to do that, then I made a comment to somebody, and I knew it was going to get back to you. And I know why the support is here, because you questioned the fact that I requested a police detail, or I was going to suggest a police detail when those bands are playing. And I know there's an expense that goes to it. But that's part of doing business. You're generating more revenue, you're generating more people coming in there. And I don't even know what the new capacity is for your restaurant. Can you tell me what the new capacity is now that you have that new addition on there? Because I'm concerned about you getting more people in there. How cramped are is your place at on those nights when you have those bands playing?
Well, I believe is 270 or something.
270.
Yeah, 280 or 270.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but
That's
around there.
if you can pack 270 people in there on one given night, I think your business is doing pretty good.
Oh, I wish.
Well, no, I'm just saying that would be great for you, and I hope that happens. I know that you have people that are monitoring your doorways and stuff. We know about the other issues that have been addressed and have been discussed with you off camera, and that's great, and you've done what you needed to do to keep that element out of there. And I know that you lost some people going in there because of those individuals, and I'm sorry that had to happen. But, at some point, when that reputation starts coming out, then it's, that spreads quickly. And hopefully, the fact that you're doing what you need to do to keep that element out spreads just as quickly so those other people can come back and enjoy your restaurant that were there originally for you when you first started. So you may be getting one demographic group in there, but you're losing other demographic groups because of the additional or the new nuance that's going on in there. So I guess you'd have to ask, is it worth, having the youth in there instead of having the middle folks in there? And I won't say the old timers because
The transitionals.
the transitionals, as we'll call them, which were there over the weekend, because that band absolutely draws that type of crowd. They're not going to stab you; they'll beat you over the head with their canes. But they are a good band, no doubt about it. Anyway, before I would just. I have to agree with everybody and all the comments that were made, especially from Carl, Steve, and Yolanda, and Rob. And Mr. Willett, I appreciate the comments that you made about the sound-absorbing tiles, because, in fact, one of the restaurants that had an entertainment license did that before they came and requested an entertainment license, because prior to them taking this business over, they had an issue with neighbors right next door to one another, not more than 75 feet away. It was a driveway's length away, okay? And there was an issue, but it wasn't an issue until after they put up the sound-absorbing tiles. It went away. But the new owners decided not to go that route. They still have the license, but they don't utilize it as much as you would like to utilize yours, okay? So that's why I brought up those other things, just to show and compare what other places are happening or what they've done in the past. I mean, I know it's going to be an expense to you, but if that's your dream, to make sure that you get all these things in order and you get the bands that you want in there that are going to draw people, well, my father used to say you have to spend money to make money. And if that's something that you need to do, then I want to see that done before we issue a new license. So that way, we compromise with the folks across the street. You do what you need to do. We sit down and talk with the building owner and talk about other matters that need to be addressed. And they're definitely not yours. They're not on your shoulders. They're absolutely not. I mean, the trucks and the driving down on Metropolitan, that's another discussion for another time. That doesn't become your burden. It becomes Tim's burden, and we'll deal with Tim. But I would like to see those done. And just for the record, I want to make sure, you said just for Saturday nights only, you're going to do live bands just Saturday nights, right?
Yeah, we just do Saturday night, yeah.
Okay, because, I don't want to see it again on another social page that, Friday nights, so-and-so is going to be here or whatever. If it's going to be Saturdays, because we want to address it in the license that we provide to you. It'll state exactly what it needs to be and the type of music that'll be played, that'll be allowed to be played.
But I thought I have, I did apply for like 7 days a week, right?
You have an acoustical license right now that's
Sunday to Saturday,
Sunday
9
to
to
Saturday, 9 to 12 p.m. 9 a.m.
Yeah.
I mean,
9 p.m. to 12 a.m.
12 a.m.
But not 7 days a week.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
It's 7 days a week.
It's
That
7
you can
days
do
a week.
acoustic
Yeah.
music.
I just
Right.
do a one.
Yeah?
Yeah, just 1 day.
Okay. So I just wanted to make sure that's what we have, because I don't want any misunderstandings from this point on, because we've had enough misunderstandings. So, having said that, I don't know how long it would take to get these tiles installed or what the cost would be. I mean, I would just like, I would strongly recommend that those tiles be put in before we even make a decision that to happen, and how long that would take and what the cost would be. I mean, I don't know. I really and truly don't
That's why
know.
my suggestion was we leave the current license the way it stands for
stands.
3 months.
Okay.
At least try to hear if it's something that's doable. If it's not, we can revisit and say, okay, try the other bands, see how it works. And if that doesn't work, we come back.
Well, let me just suggest, rather than give a 3-month period here, I mean, Ray has a license for acoustic music.
Right.
All right? Let Ray come back to us
Mine too.
with a plan. If it's in a month or 2 months or whatever, if you have a plan that is satisfactory to the board, to the neighbors, and it also has to include certainly a plan, or, by the time you come back before us again, I would hope that all of the issues in the back of the building are addressed. You own that one. In the meantime, we will explore what issues need to be done relative to traffic on Metropolitan. But I would put it on your shoulders to come back and provide us with a plan.
Yeah, I would definitely do that. But the only one thing I'm pointing out, because I will take care of my side of stuff, but I don't have any. I cannot force anybody, any other tenants to do anything, because that's not my buildings.
And we're not asking you to
we're
do
not
that.
asking you to
We're
do
just
that,
asking
right.
for
But,
you
I'm
to
just
police
like,
your area in back of your restaurant that you have
Yeah.
control of.
I will definitely
That's
take care
all.
of my area. But just in case people put all over on me, they'll feel like not fair to me, though. Yeah, because this is a whole plaza.
We don't have any
Yeah.
expectation
Yeah.
that you're responsible for anything
But-
other than your.
In back of your space.
Yeah,
The
I know.
trash and the empty beer bottles and whatever else you generate that is going in back of your building.
Yeah, but I will tell you one thing, cause just like I'm concerned, because people call me, say, hey, Ray, the piece of plastic stuff below my garage, I have to go take care of that. That not even though my stuff. So I don't want, well, I'm trying to work without them, without it. But just like something I cannot control it.
But you can alleviate that problem, Ray.
Uh,
But you can alleviate that problem by putting your trash in a fenced-in area.
Yeah. I
So once
will-
your trash is in a fenced-in area, if somebody else's trash goes, you have proof that it's not your trash.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I will leave in my word today. So if they're going to see any trash right behind my area, well, they can guess me, whatever they can do though. But from the day, But again, something not belong to me though, I cannot guarantee though. But that's why I've been working with my landlord to try to improve the stuff.
Well, Ray, at this point, I think our expectation is for you to clean up,
Yeah.
in coordination with your landlord, the space behind your building.
Yeah,
So-
I will.
And I would also ask the neighbors, I mean, is this a reasonable path that we're suggesting.
At least a starting point.
Okay. You're welcome. So, Ray, we'll leave it at this, is that at some point in the near future, you'll come back to this board with a plan as to what you expect to do and how you present it.
Okay.
We'll give notice to the residents so that they'll have notice of it as well. And
Can I just add one thing?
Sure.
That should you then have something other than acoustic music, know that that could affect your entertainment license.
Yeah, I got it. So I'm going to call them to cancel that. So, yeah.
So what I may entertain doing is continuing this hearing until February 2nd. And hopefully February 2nd should give you some time to come up with a plan.
February 2nd. Yeah. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Mr.
Thank you,
Chair,
Board.
can I have one more comment?
Sure.
Mr. Rafferty, do you think between now and then it would be possible for you to, I realize you're the agent for the owner, to at least consider some kind of a screening in that area between Metropolitan Avenue and the building?
What do you mean by screening exactly?
Well, right now, there's just a direct shot from Metropolitan Avenue to the back of that building, which, even when it's clean, isn't a particularly pleasant view. And I realize that there are some large pine trees there that may have been the original screening when they built that plaza. I don't know. But they're so large now that the lower 10 feet don't have any branches on them. So either some smaller plantings that would fill in that space underneath those pine trees, or some sort of a post and rail fence that would improve the view from Metropolitan Avenue looking into the back of the plaza. I don't think it would
the
be.
driveway is right there, Carl.
Yeah, it's directly
If you look
across.
at some of the pictures,
Well, I've got an overhead of the plaza, and it's, and this is not of today, so the photograph I'm looking at, there's cars parked in the back, but there's the stretch behind the building that's screened by, so it'd be behind the Hantu and then Papagino's space. Is it feasible to put something there that's screened, that is accessible?
Papagino's currently has.
Papagino's,
see that first?
so it's got a photograph overhead, and it shows the Papagino's dumpster that is screened.
That's what we're talking about.
So we're looking
screening,
for
right?
screening for his trash
Well, that's not
receptacles,
what I was looking
right? That's
for.
not what
That's-
Carl is saying.
Right.
Because if you look at what's on the entrance, there's no way to screen because of where the entrance is.
Well, there is, to the right of the entrance, there are several tall pine trees that go from the entrance out to 135.
Which
And
were
then
initially
off-
put in.
Metropolitan Ave, right?
Exactly. And smaller bushes that were either smaller pines or arborvitae or something like that, that could cover that 10-foot area in there, that would just make it, or even a low fence would make it, it would improve the view for the neighbors.
Are we going to speak with Mr. Rafferty after this hearing?
Yes, we are,
tonight?
so
Yeah,
we
maybe
can
should.
hold off on that.
Thank you.
But what I would like to suggest, if I could, Bob and Ray, is that once you have that plan, whatever plan you decide to do, submit it to the town manager's office on or before January 27th, so that gives,
27, right?
yeah, the 27th of January.
Yeah.
So, because our next meeting is actually February 3rd and not February 2nd, my bad. It's not working up here anymore. But that way we can have time to go over, review it, and if there's any major issues that we need to address, we can at least be in contact with you so you can make those changes prior to the meeting.
And if it's not available, then on the 3rd, we could just continue the hearing to
We
the
can
next
continue
month.
the hearing again.
If you're not
So I
ready.
just had a quick question.
Yep.
I know some of the acoustic people that come in are, when they sang, they're mic'd. Would that be an acoustic if the vocals are mic'd? Or,
I think that's considered
think
acoustic.
That's
still
that's still
acoustic.
considered acoustic,
Okay, I just wanna
Bob.
make
Yeah,
sure
no, and that
I'm
was a
clear.
discussion that was had originally when we had the original meeting with Ray.
okay,
Okay?
just no amps? No,
Not at this point.
okay, yeah. no
Okay.
amps. Just making sure.
Not a problem. Not a problem. But they have great singing voices.
Not me.
Neither do I. All right. I make a motion to close the hearing.
Continue.
I mean, to
Continue.
continue the hearing to February 3rd.
Second.
All those
You
in
can't make
favor?
the motion.
Yeah, you can.
Joe can?
Sure.
Yeah.
As chair, we don't usually do that, but you can.
Yeah.
And it's been
Unless
So I
someone
had a
wants to just
second.
repeat what I just said, they can do that if they'd like. I heard a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Very good. So this will be continued until February 3rd, and hopefully we'll have a plan in hand and we'll be able to work it. But he still has an entertainment license. It was never going to be taken away. It was just going to be added on. And what for? So that's it. You're good. Have a good night, everyone.
We need to add a time.
You all set, Ray?
Thank you for the bar.
Time about
Thanks, Ray.
7:15. And same time again, it'll be 7:15 again. Okay? Thank you. Thank you all.
All right, thanks. Yeah, that was an hour, huh? Wow.
I think we need to schedule something separate.
At this
Joe,
point, I think what
we
we'd
need
like-
to schedule something separate.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to do it tonight.
We don't have to do it tonight. Yeah. Does anybody need to take a 5-minute break?
Nope.
Yeah, we do. Okay. At this point, WACA, the board would like to take a 5-minute recess, and we'll be back in 5 minutes. Thank you. Thank you for coming, staying tuned. We are back live, January 6th, 2016, Board of Selectmen's meeting. And next on our agenda, we go down to Selectmen appointments, and
Well, we're going to talk with Mr. Rafferty, and finish that discussion. What do you guys?
do you want to do that first? Or is that something that we can
it's
do?
an off-
Yeah,
I think it's an
we can do that
off-camera.
offline.
Yeah, we
Oh,
can do it
okay.
offline,
So,
sure.
we'll-
We just, Tim, if you can give us some information, name, phone number, we can get a hold of you at, and that would be cool. So
Then
that
he
way,
can-
you don't have to
okay,
hang
then he
here
can
and
go
listen to
home.
us
Okay.
babble on. You're welcome.
You can give your business card to Sue.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to
All right,
see
thank
again.
you.
Good night.
Thank you, Tim. Okay. Selectmen appointments. We have on the agenda Warren Wood ad hoc expansion.
Yeah, I can give you a little update on that. We
Yep.
voted at the last meeting to expand that committee by 4 positions. One from the Sustainability Committee, one from Conservation Commission, one from the Historical Commission, one from the Open Space Committee. The Conservation Commission has officially voted, and I am their recommendation. The other committees have made a decision but haven't voted on it yet, and so we should have 3 more names for the next meeting.
Okay.
So do you want to wait and do all 4, or do you
That'd
want
probably be
to?
that'd probably be the best thing to
And
do,
I think
Council.
we
That
should
way
have a
I'll,
correspondence from
From
the
each-
chair of each
Each
committee.
committee,
So
with
that
a
way we have-
recommendation.
Clerk, and
Yeah.
then also to the
Okay.
to the board.
okay. So if that would be done, so they could do that for you, that would be great as well. Thank you. All right. I see that we don't have any town manager appointments.
Not this
Not
week.
at this time. Okay. Old and new business, we already started with the volunteer breakfast, set for 2/27/16 at the community center. Time roughly between 8:30 and 10-ish.
Tim, I've reserved to 11.
11, okay.
Okay.
So that would
Clean
help
up.
clean up,
Yep.
right?
That's exactly right.
Great. All right. Other old and new business, Road Traffic Safety Committee.
So, Mr. Chair, this is a follow-up to our meeting on December 16th, of last year, where Sergeant Berman came before the board and requested that the board formulate this roadway traffic safety committee. It's something that he's had experience with in the town of Framingham. It serves as a clearinghouse for all different types of road issues that come to the town, and so instead of having a number of different departments, conceivably working on the same problem without even knowing about it because they're fielding different complaints, this would serve as a central note, if you will, where some of these complaints and solutions could be made. What the board had asked at the time was that Sergeant Berman forward a more formal charge for the committee, and then also a recommended makeup of the committee as well. So he has provided that in your packet. I can just go through the Road Traffic Safety Committee is a group formed by the Town of Ashland Board of Selectmen. This committee is a fielding house for all issues relating to the roadways and safety in the Town of Ashland. The committee will review any roadway safety concerns that people bring in front of the board, and the committee will make recommendations for roadway and safety improvements. These recommendations will be dependent upon funding availability. The committee will also look at improvements that need to be made with current infrastructure and make recommendations to the Capital Improvement Committee. The committee, upon receipt of a letter, will review the request and, if needed, impose a traffic study or analysis of the situation and make recommendations. The committee will meet monthly, and if needed, an emergency meeting can be called. All departments will advise callers of this committee and advise people how to properly notify the committee of an issue. The committee will be made up of the following: a member of the police department, one member of the fire department, a member of DPW, planning board, town planner, a member of the Board of Selectmen, and 2 Ashland residents. And then it goes to list some of the items that would be brought forward before the committee. So if the board wishes to, the board could choose tonight to go ahead and create the committee and solicit talent bank forms, and then quite possibly, if you want to entertain it tonight, select the Board of Selectmen member for the committee.
Comments, concerns, suggestions? Steve?
Well, I think we had actually a perfect segue into this committee this evening, speaking about Metropolitan Avenue. Now, would we evaluate some of the concerns that were discussed and expressed tonight? So, you know, I see a lot of value in this. I think we've had a number of situations recently where we've had to make decisions, whether it's on signage, whether it's on speed bumps. You know, I know, you know, Joe, over your tenure on the board, numerous times have dealt with traffic and parking related things of this nature, and it really, I think there's enough of volume of concerns from residents that come in that this makes a lot of sense to me. And after reading the minutes from the Framingham committee, I can see how this works, and I think this is a good thing. I think it takes, I mean, even though we're the parking commissioners and the traffic commissioners and this commissioner and that, we're really not necessarily qualified or have the time to really evaluate and derive the data, I think, with a lot of these situations demand. So I'm in favor of this.
Sure. I just had just some questions. It says, I know some recommendations go to the Capital Improvement Committee. What are their general other recommendations go to?
Well, the Board of Selectmen are the road commissioners, so potentially, you know, anything that affected any roadways within your purview would need to come before the Board of Selectmen. Similarly, if there's something that would affect maybe a school entrance or something to that effect, that might need the school committee's approval as well.
Okay, so we don't need to put that in here. I just wanted, it's just understood they're going to make recommendations to either us or the school committee, I suppose.
Now, one other thing I'd like to, if I could, Mr. Chair, interject. I think there's some similarities to the what would be our tech review.
Well, this is what I have written down here, and it's basically all in that.
Okay, I'll defer to you then.
That's okay. Yolanda, do you have any?
Let Rob finish.
Yeah, and just kind of another question: who is are we appointing all these folks, or are like the police department making the appointments? It's not really.
So what we will do, at least for the staff members, is for each department, I will ask them to forward their representative to me, and I will put it before the board, and the board will actually be the ones that appoint them to the committee.
So presumably that's the same with the Ashland residents. They do the talent bank form.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, and I guess I think this is a great idea. Thank Ed for bringing it forward, and sounds like a good process.
Yolanda?
Yeah, I'm sorry to have missed the presentation by Ed, but having read the information before the last meeting, I agree. I think this is a great way for us to, there's been a number of issues brought before us, and to Steve's point, the five of us can certainly look at these, but we're always looking to the police department to give us input, and certainly to the fire department as well, and Public Works, because if there's any changes that need to happen, they're the ones who are going to evaluate it and, let us know how much it might cost and things like that. So I think it's a great makeup, and I thank Ed for bringing it forward.
Go.
Yeah, I agree, Mr. Chair. Steve's comment with regard to the tech review, my complaint with signage is that oftentimes there are new signs added, and there are a lot of signs around town that are obsolete, that have never been removed.
Right.
So it makes the ones that have been added add to what we've referred to as sign pollution, because there are so many signs, and some of them have, and I could name a half dozen off the top of my head, but I won't, but they are no longer relevant to when they were put in 20 years ago. And my understanding is that tech review reviews new projects. I would suggest that this group would be dealing to a large degree with either projects that needed to be updated, like the request for a school sign on Concord Street, or issues that are just irrelevant to road traffic, but the signs are still there and they may be able to be removed or whatever. And so I would support this.
Okay.
And I would then support adding removal of signs to some of the examples of things that need to get done by this group.
Well, this is where I disagree with some of you. I agree upon the concept, and I like the fact that I think one of the general purposes was to have a central fielding house where all the complaints came in, because that was the issue, not knowing who was going to be responsible for getting these complaints to the proper authorities to be worked on. Some calls went to the DPW, some calls went to the town, police department, fire department, and even here at the town hall. And nobody had an exact location as to where these calls should be dumped to and action to be taken. So on that note, I actually agree 100% that we need some sort of central location. Ashland, like many towns, and I put a lot of thought and consideration into this, but, we love creating new committees. We already have a tech review committee, and granted, they do new projects. Well, why can't we expand their request or their mandate, the tech review's mandate, by adding traffic complaints and or other signage issues to their mandate? They already have a member of the police department. They have a member of the fire department. They have a member of the planning board. They already have a member of the DPW on the tech review board. The only members that they don't have are the Board of Selectmen and or God bless you, citizens, from the public. They could do the exact same thing. I mean, it's kind of redundant as far as I'm concerned to have one committee doing almost similar things, but it's only on new projects, and then you have a new committee working on old issues. Why just expand the mandate of the current committee that's there to look at the problems that have been created because of antiquity with respect to signs, and signs that need to be replaced or need to be added as part of the current mandate? And you already have people that are already on there that are currently doing it. Why reinvent the wheel? I guess that's why I'm looking at it. I praise Sergeant Berman for coming up with a suggestion and an idea, but I think the answer was right in front of us, and just expand the mandate of the Tech Review Committee.
Could we speak with the chair of the Tech Review Committee and get some input from them as to what they think?
That would be fine. I mean, that would be fine. I mean, I'm not trying to sway anybody's opinion about that. This is just my opinion about this particular issue. I would suggest that they meet monthly as well. and with respect to any new complaints or any other additional matters that come in front of the, at the request for, again, situation at Metropolitan Ave. That actually becomes a planning board issue because they have to readdress that whole location.
So is tech review a committee or is it a process?
Tech review is more, it's really more of an internal staff type of situation where what happens is that if you have a larger scale development or even a medium scale development that wants to come into town, they sit before all of these different representatives from different departments and regulatory boards to discuss some of the issues. It's almost like a pre-application hearing, if you will. And so they're able to work out a lot of things ahead of time before submitting their application, and then it delaying the process. Typically we've had conservation agent as part of the tech review committee. It can be a rather large group, and it's ad hoc, I guess you could say, as people, as different expertise is needed for maybe a specific project they're brought on as well. But so they don't really have a chair, so to speak, but it's, I would probably nominate Dave Manoogian as kind of the de facto chair. And, I can have a conversation with him and see if he thinks that after discussing it with the group, if they feel like that's a responsibility that they feel they could take on.
And Joe, I have another question. So in regards to the tech review, so could it be different people from the fire department going in, sitting in, depending on the project, or police department? Or is it typically there's someone assigned from the fire department to be on the tech review committee?
It's usually the captain. It's Captain Roby now. It was Captain Boothby when he was the captain. Lieutenant Bowden is usually the representative from the police department. Nat represents planning. Selby, when he was here, played that role. And then Dave Manoogian, of course. But sometimes, Regita, who does a lot of our GIS mapping, if she needs to be there for whatever reason, she'll come, but she's not, part of the official group. Tony and I would even go to them every now and then when it was appropriate.
Does the planning board / town planner refer to being the town planner, or is it a member of it's not a member of the planning board?
I would defer to the planning board on that one, but my intent would be to have it the town planner.
The chair and the town planner.
To come to technical.
For technical reviews.
Yeah, the one issue I would have with technical, right now, this has a number of volunteers on it, member of the Board of Selectmen, and 2 Ashland residents, and maybe a member of the planning board. Does that fit with technical review meeting during the day, or working hours for town staff? I mean, how would that, that would be my concern about that.
I've sat in on tech review meetings because Lieutenant Bowden at the time was unavailable, so I was his designee to sit in on them. And most of them are during the day, maybe sometimes mid-afternoon or whatever. But, if you're still going to get individuals from these departments, it doesn't matter day or night.
Right.
So I guess, so the volunteers on these would be expected to be available
No, well,
during...
these, if you look at the Framingham minutes, these are 7 o'clock meetings. So
7 o'clock at night.
Well, because there's there's an evening because it's a separate committee.
Right.
Well, this is, it goes to Rob's
Right.
point,
Yes.
that there's
With volunteers. Yep.
Right.
So it would be a little different. That would be my only kind of take on that. It'd be a little different cast if you expanded technical review and put it work with volunteers, and how that would just be a little different, I would think.
Well, again, the tech review committee is made up of the same basically individuals that are being there, so I guess tomato.
Yes.
It's one of the same thing, as far as I'm concerned. We all talk about, here we go, creating another committee.
I don't disagree with being weary of creating new committees. It's the charge that is the issue for me. A lot of times people confuse the Warren Woods Ad Hoc Committee with the Land Stewardship Committee, and there are some crossover members, but they're a very, very different charge. Mm-hmm. And it's important that both of those, I think they're both important charges, and they both need from my perspective, the full attention of the various committees. So I would say if it's possible to do what you're suggesting, Joe, with that committee, obviously that would be more efficient. But if it's not possible, or if they're not willing to take this on as a charge, then I think it's a charge that needs to be designated to someone.
Okay.
I
Well,
would agree with that.
So probably our next step is to talk to the, well, of course, there's no chair of the technical review committee, so
yeah.
how to get their feedback on this idea. This would be.
Well, if Nat is the, or Dave Minucci is the key component.
the key
probably
person.
is the key.
He's the key. So I'm going to contact David tomorrow, and I'll probably contact the other members, standing members, if you will, of Tech Review, and ask them about expanding their charge, their current charge.
But
Is that what you're
I
asking?
think
that's what
that's
I meant.
deserving to explore, but I think it's important to have residents on this committee as
Yeah.
well. I think that's an important differential,
agree,
and I think it's important to do that. So how would that work? So when you talk to David, how would we, if we're actually going to entertain expanding the committee, or the charge, I think we're also looking to expand the makeup.
I mean, the membership, it can be an issue. I'm not necessarily sure it'd be the best thing on a number of different reasons to have different residents part of a tech review
Right.
of, a pre-application meeting, if you will, for some of these
Oh, yeah,
developments,
sure.
for a number of different reasons. So that's kind of the conundrum that you have right now. If you want the tech review committee to also, serve as this roadway traffic safety committee, you might want to rethink about the resident component being on it. So,
Well, again, from my perspective, and it may just be my perspective, I think that they're two different charges. Can they be encompassed under one umbrella? I don't know the answer to that. I think in a tech, I think you raise an interesting point, Michael, that there may not be an adequate place for resident input on a tech committee, thus the title, the tech committee, whereas this oversight committee that we're talking about here is a little bit broader in its application and includes, I would think, more naturally input from neighbors from existing neighborhoods as opposed to proposed neighborhoods.
right. I mean, so tech review, for example, when an applicant is looking at a project, they will present a drawing, if you will, or a series of drawings, and they sit here at the table and everybody goes around it, and all of the professional staff go and see where there are issues. For example, if there's not enough space and not enough room on a driveway or a turn for a fire engine to make that turn safely, the captain brings it up, and so it is very technical in nature. But ironically, the Roadway Traffic Safety Committee might actually have more in-depth and meaty stuff in the sense that you are dealing with existing projects or existing traffic safety measures. And there can be a whole host of different elements that come into play of whether you're going to change something or not, if you're going to remove a sign, if you're going to add a traffic light. You typically don't have stealth radar in place for a tech review process, right? You might use that when you're looking at different intersections, for example, Oregon and Oak. That can be a potentially dangerous intersection. What you would do to evaluate and analyze, the impacts of that could be a lot different than what you are looking at when you're looking at a proposed application.
So what does the board want to do?
When you first said it, Joe, it's like, okay, that seems like it could make sense, but then listening to Mike talk about more detail of how they're doing things and what we're looking for here, I think we should create the Roadway Traffic Safety Committee, certainly if the current members of the Tech Committee want to be the representatives for these different departments. that's certainly fine, and that would actually then help, because then, you know, one of the things on here is that we would require someone from the committee to attend the tech review meeting. So if one of the, you know, representatives of the police or fire who is going to the tech review committees, they could then bring the information back to this roadway safety committee.
So do you think that before we vote on it, maybe you should have a conversation with David, so that, I mean, we are talking about roadways, and even though we are the commissioners,
Sure.
he's the one that.
That makes sense.
So I guess my question would be, if this is, the board decides to go with this committee, they make the final say? Or do we have the final say?
No, you would have the final say.
Because
I
it
mean,
doesn't say that. That's why I'm a little curious.
Okay.
Final say on what?
On any decision that they do. It doesn't say one thing about them coming back
Well,
to
they
the
make
board.
recommendations.
Do you think that we could modify this?
Yes, so
Okay.
my suggestion would be to modify the third sentence where it says the committee will review, and have it read, the committee will review any roadway safety concerns that people bring in front of the board, and the committee will make recommendations for roadway and safety improvements to the appropriate body. So who will then have.
I think that, yeah, that you might want to just take an overall look at the whole charge and make some modifications to it, because we really didn't give them any template to work from.
Right.
Other than bring us a charge, and he did do that. But I think that you're right, Joe. I think that needs to be said in there somewhere. And there may be some other things that we've raised that we may want to put in. So maybe we can table this for the next meeting, and in the meantime, we can get a modification of the charge and an opinion from the from Mr. Manoogian.
Mm-hmm.
And I would, in that spirit as well, I think I would give some thought to even a mention of the Capital Improvement Committee as part of this charge as
Yeah,
well.
well, they are in there, but what do you mean? It says make recommendations to them.
Well, I'm going to suggest to eliminate that.
Oh.
Okay, all right.
All right, I guess you got it covered if you say appropriate body, then
Yes.
wouldn't need it. Okay.
That would make me a little happier, which is the reason why I took the stand that I took.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, well, you look happier.
All right. So it's deferred to our
to the
next
next
meeting,
meeting.
and give Michael an opportunity to talk to Mr. Manoogian and
That
to
sounds
revise
fun.
the charge as we've discussed.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
All righty. Open annual town meeting warrant. We're on.
All right, well, it's that time again. In preparation for the 2016 annual town meeting, the board typically establishes a timetable for the submission and review of proposed town meeting warrant articles. And so it's an effort to provide residents and taxpayers with the best available information for making informed decisions on article requests for action. So we're going to ask the board tonight to open the warrant on January 6, 2016, again tonight. February 18th has been established as the deadline for notice of intent to submit proposed warrant articles. Those will be filed with Selectman's office.
I'm just going to go back to the beginning.
Yep.
Annual town meeting on May 6th of 2016 is a Friday. We do not have town meeting on Friday. Could it be May 4th of 2016? The first Wednesday of the month? Because that could affect also some of these dates.
Oh, Friday, we might get more folks.
Well, if we
If you
go
want
with
to do
free-
that, that's
free
fine.
food
Go
and
to free
Friday.
food and
Pizza.
Free food and a live band.
Yeah, it is. The 6th
I was looking,
is,
I was looking on the smart sheet.
so it's got to be the 4th.
May
Okay.
4th, right? The
Right.
first Wednesday of May.
You know, Elon, I didn't
Yep,
even
it is.
realize
That's
that. You're
it.
right.
Yeah,
That's
good
it.
catch.
Good catch, kid.
Also,
Reason I have my calendar out.
so you weren't texting?
Yeah,
No,
we
I
were
was
just
not. I was,
texting.
you know, because I wanted to
She
make
was
sure.
texting Rob.
Yeah, she texted me.
Okay, so May,
You were texting to Michelle.
May 4th.
May 4th.
Okay, thank you.
So, so I think what we should probably do is correct that and then back up each of the dates
Yeah.
by 2 days.
And then also correct, if this is getting sent out to different entities correct the fall 2014 annual town meeting warrant
Correct.
timetable?
Yes. So, going back, January 6th, open the warrant. February 16th is the deadline for notice of intent to submit proposed warrant articles. February 16th through March 29th would be the due diligence period. February 16th through May 3rd would be the opportunity for public hearings. March 30th would be the Board of Selectmen vote to close and post the warrant. April 19th would be the date the warrant, or the no later than date for the warrant posting, and then May 4th would be town meeting.
So,
Now, you don't traditionally meet March 30th.
No.
Well, we may have to have a third meeting that month.
There have been times when we've.
There have been times that we've had meetings just to do town meeting warrant voting.
Right, like a workshop.
Yeah.
another workshop.
So, all right, so with those changes,
Can I just ask a general, so we're going to be talking about the override schedule. Now, is this May 4th pretty much a fixed date in terms of?
Yes.
So, because of the need to get the budget done or before the fiscal year starts and all that. So this is really the date we have to work with. And really, if there's going to be an override, scheduled or an election scheduled, it'll work with this date really being fixed. I'm just, after.
the date's established by charter, I believe.
We can't
Yeah,
change
so-
the town meeting
So
date.
that's, okay.
So,
We
but
can
to go to
add
that
election,
point,
but-
the election is
Tuesday,
would
May
be-
17th, right?
right.
Third
should
Tuesday in
be
May?
Third Tuesday, which would be the 17th, correct?
Yep. Yes.
Okay.
The municipal election
That would be
date.
the general election, yes.
Should be May 17th. Is our spring municipal election.
Correct.
date, Yeah.
All right, so.
We're good.
Okay.
So we need a motion to open the warrant, so I move that the Board of Selectmen opened the spring 2016 annual town meeting warrant as of tonight, January the 6th, 2016.
As revised.
As revised, date-wise, yes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Unanimous. Okay. Very
Did
good.
you want to go over the warrant article guidelines, Michael, before we?
Well, I don't know now, but, so sure.
Come on, you can-
So again, the Board of Selectmen, they have a collegial goal of collegial and cooperative interaction with all town boards, committees, and residents, as well as providing an opportunity for all articles to be fully vetted and documented. This will allow for thoughtful deliberation and informed decision-making for all town meeting participants. All non-citizens petitions, warrant articles, are to be submitted to myself. Following criteria should be considered in submitting an article for the 2016 annual town meeting warrant. Number one, does the proposal address an important need of the town in FY17? Number two, does the proposal improve a town asset? 3, if funding is required, explain why the proposal is the least expensive, most cost-effective option for addressing the need. And 4, do alternative sources of funding exist, and if so, what are they? Warrant articles approved at town meeting establish town governance for the new fiscal year and/or address issues of the current fiscal year. It is important that town meeting participants have an opportunity to be as fully informed as possible. So we'll, after it is revised, I will send it out to boards and committees, and we'll keep you apprised of, any warrant articles that come in.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And with that, I will turn the next topic over to Mr. Steve Mitchell and Mr. Rob Shear regarding the Override Study Committee update.
Well, I am actually going to pass it over to Mr. Herbert to give us a quick review of the Override Study committee's recommendation, and just make note that we've established a date of May the 19th for a workshop meeting to devote
May 19th?
No,
Do you
no,
mean
no,
January
Jan, I'm sorry,
19th?
what did I say, May?
Yeah, you
Said
did.
May 19th.
That's good, that works.
It's
That works.
contagious.
So January the 19th is a workshop opportunity for the board to really devote an adequate amount of time for this important subject. So with that being said, Michael?
Sure. So over the weekend, you received the Override Study Committee's final recommendation, multi-page report. Just to summarize, it's been, many, many months, it seems like. It's probably been 6 or 7, and over 20 meetings that the Override Study Committee has met and, talked about not just an override, but the town's fiscal issues. When we initially started looking at this, we looked at a significant deficit in FY17 of $900,000. Over the course of the summer and early fall, that dropped down considerably, and at the end of our last meeting, that FY17 deficit stood at a little over $200,000. So what that did was that helped change the focus of the override from something that was designed to strictly take care of the potential structural deficit to something that an override that we could use to both take care of a smaller structural deficit, but then also maybe look at restoring or enhancing some of the services that had been lost or that we needed to add. So over the course of the 20 meetings, we discussed that, what those services would be, what it would be, how it would be formulated. And then also, I think more importantly, what was our financial plan for the next 5 years? How the override was not going to be seen as a solution for everything, but a part of a solution, part of a greater solution. And so I think a lot of meeting time, and I don't know if my colleagues would agree, a lot of meeting time was spent talking about that financial plan and revising what those departmental increases and other fixed cost increases and revenue increases were going to be and what we were going to agree upon for the 5-year forecast. So where we ended up is basically a 2-tiered override. We chose to do a pyramid override structure that has 2 questions. The Override Study Committee recommended question 1 was going to be $1.5 million. Question 2 was going to be $2.4 million. Each one contains a multitude of school department and municipal department expenditures. And once you look at the impact on the average single-family tax bill, we saw that it still kept us in the middle of the pack, if you will, in terms of where we are with Metro West communities and comparisons. So, for example, the average single-family tax bill, if we passed a $1.5 million override, would increase the average single-family tax bill by $255. It would add 64 cents onto the tax rate. And an override of $2.4 million would add $1.02 onto the tax rate, which would result in an average single-family tax bill increase of $407. Just for your information, the average single-family house is assessed at $399,000. Another key component of this is the override stabilization account. What we are proposing, and what the Override Study Committee recommended, is that we set the override amount such that for the structural deficit, at least, we would be banking surpluses in years 1 through 3 to take care of deficits that would occur in years 4 and 5. So it would be equalized over the 5-year period. And then finally, we talked a lot about tax relief programs, the ones that we had available and the ones that could potentially be available. And what we settled on was the fact that, A, we need to do a better job of advertising the programs that we have now. I think there was near unanimous support for that. And it's something that we are going to be working on, whether or not we put forward an override. Number 2 is we are recommending to increase the 41C.5 exemption amount by an amount that is slightly more than what the tiered question increase would be, or the average single-family tax increase would be for each tier. So, for example, again, the average single-family tax bill would increase $255 if Tier 1 passed. We would recommend increasing the 41C.5 exemption amount by $300, which would bring us around $800 for the total exemption. And for question number 2, which would increase the average single-family tax bill by $407, we would recommend raising the exemption to by $450, which would move that to $950 total. So that's one last thing is the timing of the override vote. When we were first talking about this, we had talked about doing a special election in late March or early April. To do that, we felt like the board would need to take a vote, or the Board of Selectmen would need to take a vote to put it on the ballot around December. Not from a statutory standpoint, but strictly from the standpoint of there was an education component associated with this, and we needed to have enough time to at least educate the voters as to what it is we were asking for and what it is we were proposing. As this has taken a little bit longer than what we anticipated, there's the possibility that we could move a ballot question to the general election, which is on May 17th. And if that's the case, the moderator has shared with me that on May 4th, when we have the annual town meeting, that he would look at tabling or continuing Article number 2 or 3, which is the budget article, to a date certain after that general election, if that makes sense. So we would still have town meeting on the 4th, but we just wouldn't discuss the budget until after the general election.
So we'd have to have town meeting again after the election?
Correct.
What happened to I wasn't around for that discussion. What happened to the idea of having 2 budgets conditional upon what happened on or is that?
Well, you're still going to have 2 budgets up until May 18th, when you know the result of the override. So what would happen would be the budget that would be presented at town meeting. You would already know the result of the override, so we'd only be presenting one budget as opposed to.
Yeah, I'm just. I guess I was thinking that we just could go with one town meeting before the election that would make a recommendation contingent on the election. That's not possible. You can't do it.
I don't know if it's possible. My conversation with the moderator, I felt like he wouldn't entertain that. I don't want to speak for him, but that he sent a pretty clear message when we talked.
Because it would cloud the rest of
Exactly.
town meeting?
Exactly. And I don't disagree, actually.
What do you mean by cloud the rest of town meeting?
The only issue that anyone was talking about
Right.
instead of the rest of the articles on the warrant.
Oh.
Plus, you'd actually have to consider
see.
voting 3 budgets.
Right.
You'd have to vote a no override, a Tier 1, and a Tier 2.
Tier 2.
Contingent on what happens with the
And
election.
contingency appropriations they can get really complicated.
Yeah.
Just really complicated.
That also, and maybe you said this, but if to have it at the same day as the municipal election actually saves the town some money.
Right. It does.
And we're that close up against it, it might be worth that. It also gives the educational component more time to kick in.
Correct.
Good representation, and I think we'll have certainly, I'm sure, a lot to discuss on January the 19th.
So is that another meeting for us that we need to
Yes.
put on our calendar?
Yes. Yeah.
If you
Okay.
can, yeah.
And,
Does that work for everybody?
It's by the way that it does. It works for me.
Okay.
I already have it on there.
January
We're rocking
19th.
and rolling.
See, okay.
Yep. So, 7, no, 6.
6.
We scheduled it for 6.
6? Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't mean to reschedule, okay.
For Rob's benefit.
That's right, thank you.
Right. So, 6 o'clock. And again, I think there's a lot to discuss, and I'm actually looking forward to, Rob and I have had an opportunity to discuss this for 20-some-odd meetings, and I'm anxious to hear from the rest of my colleagues on the board regarding what's before us.
Can I ask a couple of questions now, or do I need to wait until the 19th?
Now.
Okay.
Sure.
And if you don't have answers now, you can bring them on the 19th. In regards to increasing the 41.5C tax exemption amount, what impact will that have? Right, because that money comes from, I forget, I know it comes, I'm just not, it's getting late. So what line item on the budget would have to be increased to cover the increase of those those exemptions?
The overlay amount would be increased. I think there are a couple of ways I can fund it using overlay maybe from previous years that we haven't necessarily had to use.
But if you could, I'm sure you don't have this off the top of your head, but you could, but if you could tell us, okay, if we increase for the 1.5 million, what would that increase have to be? And for the 2.4 million, what would that increase have to be? And if you, I know you don't have it now, but if you could have it for us on the 19th. Oh, okay.
So let's just say if you doubled it, so if it was $1,000, that would add approximately $85,000.
But we backtrack because it's predicated on roughly 175 residents.
Correct.
That are currently taking advantage. Now, one of the issues that we identified is the fact that we don't advertise. A lot of residents aren't aware of it. So, is there potential for more? Yes, but based on 175,
those are the figures.
That's the figure. So, I think the point is that will not have an impact on the single-family tax bill.
Correct.
Right. Okay, but it will be taking. Okay, that's fine. Thank you. That answered my question. And I guess I'll leave the rest for the 19th.
I have a quick question with regard to a similar thing. We had spoken at the tri-board meeting about not only better educating people that maybe didn't know about the exemptions, but broadening the exemptions. I assume that's not something that we're going to do between now and then.
We cannot through statute right now. If you're referring specifically to basically expanding it to where you can include trusts,
right?
That is not doable at this point in time. Could you file special legislation that would allow you to do it? I guess you could file a home rule petition to do just about anything that's not explicitly stated that you can't do in statute. But I don't.
Okay,
that would take a while.
That seems to keep coming up, and then it keeps getting swept under the rug. So I don't know if that's something that actually, that at some point we may take some action on or not.
I hope so anyway.
To allow more people to realize the exemption in a real manner. And those people that are covered by a trust are the people that I'm referring to.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is there something we can do possibly for next year with respect to doing legislation or a petition?
Yeah, if you do legislation, you'd have to have, so the process for a home rule petition is, I'm pretty sure it needs to pass through town meeting, then it gets sent to the legislature and has to go through that process. Typically a year and a half.
Yeah, okay. All right. At least it's something we could start looking at and getting some of the paperwork done now. Getting it going. All right, thank you. Kyle, thank you for bringing that up.
So then we had to schedule another town meeting then? What am I missing? So we have to come back again after the election to town meeting. Do we need to schedule that?
We'd schedule a date at town meeting.
At town meeting.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, Mike will have a conversation with Adam beforehand and look at when would make sense and.
We've looked at a couple of dates
before.
and looked at making sure that it was.
Would that be in June, or when would it be? May?
Later in May.
Okay.
Before the school gets out.
Yes, before school gets out.
I would think that would be the proper thing to do. Because if school gets out, people are going on vacation and.
Sure, right.
Anyway.
Okay.
Okay. Though I did not see anything in my packet, we do have something with respect to downtown parking facilities.
Yes.
do?
So, my understanding was the board had some concerns with regards to the ARA property and the line between the ARA property and the parking lot, I
Yes.
believe. So, I don't know if the board wants me to look into, seeing what we can do to fix it.
Well, I know Kyle and I went for a walk. We went for a walk on a very cold day downtown to take a look at the downtown municipal parking lot, to go over the skate park and where that could be relocated. And while we were looking at the parking lot itself, the parking lot and the sidewalks in the municipal parking lot in some serious disarray. More prevalent than the ARA areas where we provided $6,000 for that, for the repairs of some of the curbing in that area. Now, it was my understanding, and please tell me if I'm wrong, and I've been wrong more than once, but safe at home. I had, I drew the line from where the skate park was, or the very end of the skate park towards where they hold the farmer's market, a direct line across the parking lot, and that was where 125 Front Street started, and was the ARA property. I don't believe the ARA property goes any further than that location. I think that the starting point of the municipal parking lot begins at that location as well. So that's the dividing line. And if that is the dividing line, then the town needs to really, if we want to beautify, and we're talking about beautifying downtown, we need to take a look at those sidewalks because they are in disrepair. And they need, and one, they're not safe as far as I'm concerned, especially some of the ramp areas for the handicapped people when they have to go up and down. You have re-rod that's open and exposed, and that could be very detrimental to people in crutches or wheelchairs at this point. So something needs to be addressed sooner than later.
So, just a couple of comments on that. One, again, I think that's something with, if we do this the road safety charge ties into sidewalks, plus Public Works, I would think, has a list of what sidewalks they're addressing, so we should be able to find out from them if it's on their list to address.
But, well, let's hope, that's something we can talk to Dave about too. We respect that, and if you don't mind doing that, Michael, that would be great. And if it's not on his charge to do so, then maybe that's something we should look at, because I think that needs to be repaired before the summer's in full swing and any other projects that we decide to do to beautify downtown and make any other parking changes that we want to do downtown.
Well, I would agree. I think we probably have a little bit of leverage in terms of prioritizing some of these projects, so.
Yeah, so if they could do that, that would be great.
I added that to our list for the 14th as well.
Okay.
A brief discussion of the relatively quick fix things.
Thank you for bringing up the 14th. I think those that put the date down on the 14th for the summit forgot that they were supposed to be in front of the Charter Review Committee on the 14th.
Oh.
Because I had that on my schedule for the Charter Review Committee. And then when I
Who's
saw
supposed to be in front of the charter review?
Yeah.
Who?
On the 14th, because
Who?
Us.
the board.
Okay.
No, it's a different day. We're the
We
13th,
picked,
I think.
I thought the 21st is
Oh,
what
the
we were-
21st, yeah.
We picked the 21st.
Was it the 21st?
The Board of Selectmen is the
Okay, all right,
21st,
then I
because we
wrote- I
had the
wrote down-
14th
I wrote down the week
as the
before.
downtown meeting is the 14th.
Okay, all right, I'll tell Roberta that I had provided the wrong date, so it is the 21st.
21st, yeah.
Okay. all right,
Yeah.
cool.
We've got, January is
January's
a
getting very full.
crazy month.
Yeah, it is a crazy month. So hold on, Katie, bar the doors. All right, cool. Let me just write that down so I don't forget. All right. All right. Town manager, public forum. Got a couple of calls already with respect to this from the news. Provided them the additional information, so they'll add that to their
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
to their advertising course. And Amanda will be there as well, and I'm sure with her questions and answers as well that need to be done. So we'll have a public reception with the interim town manager, Mr. Herbert, starting at 5:30. and the public is more than welcome. That's why we're having it. We would love the public to be present, come, ask questions, meet Mr. Herbert if you haven't met Michael. If you haven't, that's, you need to come and talk to him. He's a great individual, and ask him questions. And upon the conclusion of the public part of it, this board will go into our deliberation and asking questions and comments with respect to that, and then we will go into our discussions, and then we will go into executive session to deliberate.
One question I have in terms of getting the notice out, can we, and I'm not suggesting a robocall, but the message that we send out, the text message system, can we do something like that, just to get it out there? It's a busy, I was looking at the schedule, just the committee schedule for that night. It's busy. I think Finance Committee is meeting. There's like 5 or 6 committees that are meeting that night.
Finance Committee has moved their meeting to the 13th.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Okay.
Yeah.
To the, excuse me?
To the 13th.
13th, okay, good.
So that they can go to the 12th?
So I can go to the 13th. So,
Well, and then hopefully some of them will show up on the 12th and participate as well.
I hope you gave your wife a beautiful portrait of yourself, because you're probably not going to be seen at home for quite some time. I don't want to see your face on the milk carton.
well, I don't know if there's such a thing as a beautiful portrait of myself. But, appreciate it. We'll try.
We'll try. All right.
So just, Joe, just to review,
Yep.
so we're actually in open session going to make an appoint, or that's what the agenda, there'll be an
Wait, we'll go into,
appointment.
yeah,
And the executive session is to do.
to discuss
Contract.
contract.
Contract, okay, just to be clear about that.
Yeah. I probably wasn't clear enough, sorry. Thank you for taking care of that. Now, vacancies of the Board of Assessors and Water Policy Committee. Before we begin, I think on behalf of the board, I would like to thank Mr. Bill Brown for all his hard work over the many, many years that he dedicated himself as a volunteer to this town. And I appreciate Bill's work, his friendship over the years, and all I can ask him and provide him is that I wish him well and Godspeed. That's all I can say right now. There's nothing more I can say other than that. Our prayers are with you.
Yeah, well said, Joe.
Yes, absolutely.
Exactly.
And, yeah, Bill's been a valuable resource in so many ways, and as you say, a friend and somebody to have. I've had, I'm sure we all have had very engaging conversations or dialogues with Bill over the years. So,
Unique
again,
conversations.
we wish you well, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah, hopefully you'll be back and working again.
Absolutely. A little bump in the road, as we call it.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
After you, sir.
No, just
Do we have to vote to accept these
Resignations,
resignations?
yes.
to vote to accept the resignations, yes, and do that first.
Okay. I
Okay.
move that we accept, not very willingly, but we accept the resignation of Bill Brown from both the Water Policy Committee and from the Board of Assessors.
With the many, many thanks
With
from
many, many thanks, yes.
community and from the Board of Selectmen.
Yep.
Absolutely. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Begrudgingly, aye. We all feel the same way. God bless, man. Okay.
So, as you say, begrudgingly moving forward, appointing a replacement to the Water Policy Committee is rather straightforward. You could solicit talent bank forms, go through those, and make a choice based on those. Board of Assessors is a little bit more complicated, as it's an elected board. To fill a vacancy, you need to have a joint meeting with the Board of Assessors. With Mr. Brown's resignation, that leaves 2 out of 3 assessors still on the board. Unfortunately, one is going to be out of town and out of state until probably at the earliest early March. So Attorney Mead and I are looking at ways that we can potentially the workarounds for this type of situation, because we really should have a board of assessors that can meet and have a quorum by probably, I would say, mid-February, just in terms of things, the workload that's coming in. Just to back up, the reason you can't have it with just one Board of Assessor present at your joint meeting is because you wouldn't have a quorum of the Board of Assessors at that time. So, again, Attorney Mead and I are working on some solutions to that potentially.
Okay, we'll hear more at our next meeting. Okay, thank you. Okay.
So that means if anyone is interested in working on the Water Policy Committee, they should submit a talent bank form.
That is
Or do
correct.
we have any talent bank forms of people who were interested before but didn't get appointed?
I do not know that.
Numbers?
Right,
Okay, you could check.
Yeah.
That would probably be the,
I think we did.
okay.
And just to clarify Bill's term, he was, I think, just elected this past election?
Correct.
Correct, so it's, and those are what, 3-year
Three-year
terms? So it
terms.
would be basically two.
Almost a full.
Almost a full
Full
term,
term.
okay.
2 years, yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
But whoever we appoint would have to run for election in May.
That is correct.
correct.
Oh, so it's
Right.
just till.
They would just be
Right,
appointed
right,
through the
right.
election, and then they would
And
have
then
to
they
run
would have
for
to run.
election.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right. For the first time, Town Managers Report.
Ooh, you doing town manager first?
Oh, yeah, there it is.
I have nothing to report right now, except the fact that I will say I did get a thanks folks. I did get an email late this afternoon from Mr. Manoogian, who informed me that the water level in the reservoir had risen to a point where we are out of our Stage 1 and Stage 2 water bans, so they will be taking down the signs and removing the appropriate notifications of the water ban. So that is good news.
That's good news.
That's good news.
And the other thing that's good news is when you started to say you heard from Mr. Manoogian, I thought you were going to say that he was going to resign. So
Now.
I'm glad you didn't say that.
I'm glad I didn't say that either. So, and that's my report.
Well, that's good
This will
news.
probably be the briefest one I will ever have.
I'm sure it will be. All right, we're looking at board reports. Mr. Cowell.
Well, Mr. Chair, I have something that I mentioned to you earlier in the evening that I wanted to share with the board and with the town. Some of you know that, all of you, I guess, know that my grandfather was at one time a selectman, longtime selectman for almost 20 years in the 20s and 30s. And unfortunately, he passed away presiding over a function in this hall on this very, which was the stage. And it will be 77 years this coming Sunday that he passed away. Years ago, I made this collage for my mother. And this is the last picture that was taken of my grandfather. That's him right there, and he was standing on this stage with the rest of the dignitaries. It was a 25th anniversary of a priest here who was the pastor at St. Cecilia's, and he had been a priest for 25 years, and they were celebrating this here in the hall. This year, is my grandfather ran unsuccessfully for representative, but someone wrote something in the paper. It was very touching. I put this together for my mother, and it hung in my mother's house for years, and I brought it down to my house when my mother passed and we sold the house. And if you wouldn't mind, I would like to read this. The lighting in here is a little funny, so bear with me on this, but it's very touching, I think. It says, Ashland's loss. The funeral tomorrow morning in St. Cecilia's Church, Ashland, will be the last scene in a life intimately and fondly identified with that pleasant town for more than 50 years. From childhood to his sudden passing away in busy mid-manhood, George V. Sullivan loved his home, his hometown, and lived in hearty contact with its typical New England village life. Everybody knew him, and many spoke with him when his familiar figure was seen here and there along the village streets. For besides being a friendly man, He was an active town official for many years and enjoyed taking care of all sorts of things for the townsfolk. He was a Democrat who was elected over and over in a town often decidedly Republican. He was a devoted communicant in St. Cecilia's Catholic Church, but he was a friend to the people of the Federated Church, and no one spoke more heartily than he did of how its pastor would be missed in Ashland when his farewell reception was recently held at the town hall. It was in that same community assembly place during the anniversary reception to his own pastor, which he had fondly helped to make a notable tribute, that he was smitten by death's touch. Fitting it surely was, if he must have his family and neighbors, that in his last moments of consciousness he stood in a group of church friends in the town hall. This was typical of his life. The picture then taken, showing him so standing, may well be cherished as a memorial to him. And that was that picture there. And that's my granddad. My mother was...
Turn it around and see if they can get it on the camera. I don't know if they can.
Yeah,
they can
it's
get in
pretty
close
small,
enough, but
Oh, he's giving a thumbs up.
Oh.
there you go.
My mother and my grandmother were in the audience, and ironically, when they were standing for this picture, obviously I never met my grandfather. It was 1939 when he passed. My mother said to my grandmother, "I don't think Pa looks good." And sure enough, he walked off the stage and collapsed.
Keep holding it. Keep holding it. They're getting there.
So that was, if I might comment, very touching
You're good. Thank you.
memorial to your granddad, and it's just a way of writing that doesn't exist today. And I know our reporter isn't in the room today, but there's lessons to be had by some of the way, the phrasings and the articulations, and but very well spoken.
Well, thank you. Thank you for allowing me the time to share it with you. I sometimes have gone home from our own meetings and spoken to. I have a sister that lives in California, so sometimes she's still up when we're done. And when we have a rough night here, I commiserate with her, and I say, I don't know how Pa Sullivan was a selectman for 20 years. I said, he must have been an extraordinary man. And she said, I think he was an extraordinary man. And he lived so in us grandchildren through my mother. She was a nonstop storyteller of her father.
Well, I think it's also, I think we don't connect necessarily, but we're a link in a chain.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look back on and reflect on our past selectmen, I think it puts a little bit different perspective on what we do and how we should approach it.
Mm-hmm. And what was that phrase again? Smitten? No.
Smitten.
Smitten by death.
I mean, what a
Yeah.
It
tremendous
was a
writing.
notable tribute that he was smitten by death's touch while he was presiding.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carl.
Very nice, Carl. Thank you. And I don't know if you still hang that in your home, or maybe there's a place we could hang it in this building.
Well, it's ironic
Yeah,
that
we
you
had to lend it here for a
say
while.
that, because I don't have children, and I brought that up to my sisters. My sisters are kind of scattered, and I said, someday no one's going to know what this is, and how would you feel if it passed out of the family, and we could find a place for it, maybe in town hall.
Yeah.
And they said that they would love for that to happen if that's possible, but that's another day.
Yeah. Well,
Or if not town hall, the historical.
That's a great thought, and I'm thinking of the cup of coffee we had at Honeydew months ago, and there were some former selectmen in that at Honeydew at the time, and there was some bantering back and forth, which was
There was a lot of bantering.
There was a lot of bantering, which is fine. That was a lot of fun. But
funny.
is there? It might be something for us to to commemorate the past in similar ways. If there's other photographs or memorabilia that we can maybe populate this space with, I think that's a good way to start right there.
Interesting.
That and the list of selectmen, past and present.
Right, I think that's something that we've discussed as a
We've discussed
group
about
to
doing
try
it,
and
but
talk
not
about
really,
it.
not about really doing it, so.
Maybe we should
Maybe
start
I
a
think,
Those
Joe,
of
you and I
us
need to
that
have
are
a,
in
you and I need to
transition.
have a committee,
How about a committee,
discussion,
Joe?
because,
Start that again?
well, I think Joe and I were charged with that at one point.
At
So I
one
think we
point
can
we
have
were.
that conversation and bring something
When
forward.
you feel better, we'll discuss that.
Okay. I have some ideas.
Rob?
Yeah, just one quick item that came up this week, actually, in my neighborhood. Actually, some of my neighbors were surprised when a lot of heavy equipment showed up early in the morning, started working in the street, plowing the street, and digging up, the right-of-way. And so it just turned out that Comcast was doing some cable repair, 400 feet of cable repair, based on someone saying, I'm not getting a good signal. But the rest of the neighbors, didn't know anything about it. There was a lot of emails and phone calls, like, what's going on? And so, but it all turned out to be perfectly reasonable. They had, to come on, fix the cable on the side of the road. And but before that, there was just a lot of concerns, So, I talked to Mike and Dave about it. We had a little meeting. I think Mike's going to put together something for a future meeting. And the idea is just when you kind of get these kind of routine road openings that are going to maybe disrupt things, that you work out a little notice for it. I was a little surprised when I heard that there wasn't really a mechanism for these kinds of things, just to tell people, like, we're coming sometime, this week or in the next few days, we're going to do this, we're not going to dig up your driveway, we may be digging in the right of way, there may be noise, that kind of thing. So these guys are putting together like a little process, I think, hopefully a very simple one, just to have the utility companies tell people, at least give them some basic, and a phone number to call. So, that was a nice process. And so just wanted to-
Thank you for doing that, because we had a very similar incident at Whittemore, when the neighbors were starting to go up the hill, and all of a sudden, the road was posted closed, with no rhyme or reason. Just two big signs, closed detour, and no one to talk to. But the heavy equipment was out in the middle of the road doing what they needed to do.
Yeah.
So, of course, someone got phone calls.
Yeah, right.
Like, what's going on? What are you talking about? I'm around the corner. I don't have any idea.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
So you drive up there and you walk up and take a look, and you find out that, oh, yeah, we're digging up the road. Oh, well, first of all, do you have permits, this and that, and everything else? Well, yeah. But a little bit of courtesy to the residents that reside there, and a quick notice would have been been perfect, So thanks for getting that, or whatever has to get done, so that works good. Yolanda?
That actually leads perfectly into a phone call that I was a part of today as part of our community compact, working with the state. This was regarding community engagement. Mike, myself, and Paul from our IT department were on the phone call with two people from the state. And we talked to them about how we want to engage with our community. We let them know some of the things that we currently are doing, how we're using Co-Urbanize and Community Connect, and how we're out at the farmers market doing person-to-person stuff. And they asked us, well, what do you want to improve upon? Who do you want to engage with, and how do you want to engage them? And we talked about just some of the general, how can we reach out to that 30 to 35 age group to 60, right? Who are two working parents, they live here in town, they might not have kids in the school. So that's one part of the engagement. But the other part that I brought up was just this kind of thing. There's something going on. There was a conversation about Christmas trees that didn't get picked up on Monday, and what happened there. And including in this community engagement, as we update the website, really encouraging people to get on the Blackboard Connect, and then finding a mechanism to say, okay, we had sent something out that said your Christmas trees were going to be picked up on Monday, but something happened. There was too many, or the truck broke down, or something like that. Being able to get that information out to people. So similar to Whittemore Drive, similar to that. So that was all part of this discussion. So Mike, Paul, and I are going to have a follow-up discussion. We have some forms to fill out to work with the state. We have a second meeting scheduled with them at the end of January to then see how can we take the website that's already being worked on and is looking to go live in the middle of February and include some of these things, and they're going to help us, give us some guidance on that.
Great. Good. Well, thank you. Stephen?
Just a couple of quickies. I just want to advertise again the Downtown Summit scheduled for the 14th at the Community Center, 7 p.m. we're have a continued agenda, an expanded audience or participation group as well, so we're looking forward to that. So I just want to make note of that. It's only January. It's 20 degrees out, but the farmers market has already had our first kickoff meeting for the year. We actually have our annual meeting, Ashland Healthy Harvest, which is the parent of the Ashland Farmers Market, is having their annual meeting on Saturday, the 16th, 10 o'clock at the library. And we encourage people to come and let us know how we can make it better, do things different, and just engage or participate in the market. And then lastly, I just want to thank all the members of the Override Study Committee for all the hard work that they did put into months and meetings to make that the recommendation before the board that we will now deliberate on. But it was a great group, a lot of very, very intelligent people giving very thoughtful commentary, and I just want to thank them publicly for all their work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Appreciate the work that the members of this board that are on that committee, time and effort that you put into it. Unbelievable. Thank you very much. And I'm sure the townspeople appreciate it too. A couple of quick things. The Charter Review Committee will be hosting 3 public forums for more of a meet and greet and ask questions to the Charter Review. We'll be asking them the citizens questions as to what they would like to see in their charter or out of their charter, or not do anything to the charter.
I'd like to do that 10 o'clock thing.
Yeah, you want to do it?
No.
Okay, good.
Just be quick.
We can do it real quick. So, the dates are the 19th, the 26th, and the 31st of February.
19th,
26th and the 31st of February. Now, I left all my other...
31st of February?
I mean, no, I'm sorry, January.
Okay, 19,
What I
26.
was going to say is that I left my original note that I was going to read with the locations and everything. 2 are at the public library, and 1 is at the community center. But at our next meeting, I'll have that, so I won't forget it.
Okay, so they're all after the next meeting.
Stapled to my forehead, yeah, so we'll have for our next meeting. However, our answers to the override are right here in my hand. I bought 1 ticket for the town of Ashland. It's up to $500 million, ladies and gentlemen. So I am going to hand this number. I'll read the numbers so that way. 19, 42, 55, 57, 66 with the Powerball number 5. This is my gift to the town of Ashland. So if we should win this, I hope that I never have to pay any taxes again.
Board has to accept it.
So can,
I move that we accept the gift of the Powerball lottery ticket from Joe Mignani
okay.
to the town of Ashland.
All those in favor?
Aye.
There you are.
Well
Aye.
done, Mr. Chair.
Okay, that's the least I could do. But that, you just think, wouldn't that be unbelievable? Wow. Anyway, again, thank you all.
You know, what would be unbelievable was you giving it to the town.
Done.
Love this town. Love this town. Wouldn't want to do it any other way.
300 million, you can buy it.
Well, if you win and you renege and you need a lawyer,
A third?
Really?
No, I have my other tickets over here, but that's okay. That goes to the town.
We can name the water treatment plant for you.
Thank you so much.
So was that a quick,
Like the public safety building, that wouldn't be, the water treatment facility. Thanks a lot,
so
Mike.
was that a quick pitch, or do you have the same number in your pocket?
It's a quick pick. It's a quick pick. Having said that, it is a new year. I wish everybody the very best of the new year.
New Year.
Good health, happiness more than anything else, and prosperity to this town and to the residents of the community. Bear with the town. Rome wasn't built in a day. I know a lot of people want to see things done. We're working on it. We're diligently working on it, and we're moving in a positive direction. Tony's work is not going to go unfinished. Michael is going to continue doing the work that he and Tony started. along with the folks in the Selectmen's office. And Susan, thank you for another year of all your hard work. We appreciate it. And all we just ask is for more. And with that, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good night, and we'll see you at our next meeting on the...
Hopefully on the 12th, then we'll see them at the
Oh,
community
at the
center for
Community
Michael.
Center, that's right. The Community Center on the 12th. Thank you and good night.
Night.